Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR547. It's Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty. And I'm not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by the entire WNR team. Up first by my side for every WWE and AEW show is the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. How's it going, Jaxie?
Hello, I'm doing well. How's everyone? Happy New Japan, Wrestle Kingdom, and Dynasty Day. Looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, it's been a while. It feels a while, doesn't it, since we kind of been together to do a pod. You know, it's only been a month or so, but again, a lot has gone down.
A lot has. So we've got a lot to catch up on and a lot to discuss. Tune in.
Without a doubt. Well, up next, our resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
Going great. I'm always excited to be here. Another year, another Wrestle Kingdom down. The more things change, the more they stay the same in a lot of ways. But yeah, man, I'm always excited to do these. And like you mentioned, we got a lot of stuff to kind of try to run through. And like I always say, it's a January is a beautiful time to be a wrestling fan. But now that like we're almost in February now, you kind of take a deep breath and be like, wow, I'm happy I made it through. When you just think about everything that you're trying to watch now. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. Now that we're out of January, it's such a busy, big time month, but as soon as that over now it's WrestleMania season. Now you got to worry about the road to that. So it never really ends.
Right. And again, I will say to people, you've kind of made this into a tradition on the WNR podcast now with the kind of Wrestle Kingdom, even a New Japan catch up even. So if no one likes this, it is your fault, Monty. And I always say that before, don't I?
That's fine. They can take it up with me, and I'll just ignore them.
Excellent. That's what I do. Last but by no means least, bad boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Actually, won't do the next bit. We'll leave it there. Yeah. Anyway, it is the mic to my Marcus. It is Gina. How's it going?
What it do, gang? What it do? I love that intro. Bad Boys used to be one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. So, hello. Welcome, team.
Yeah, it was my fault. I watched Bad Boys Ride or Die last night, so it's still fresh in the head. And again, it's weird, like I said, something from our childhood is now still kind of making films. I don't know, it kind of blows my mind a little bit.
Yeah, especially when it's like not a remake either, and it's like sort of more sequels as well. So totally with you on that.
Yeah. But anyway, enough about Bad Boys. What show we have? It's the biggest show of the year for New Japan and a crossover, the likes we haven't seen before-ish. How do we get there? So quick notes, because we did do New Japan catch-up. I think the last time we did a show, Zack Sabre Jr. had just won the World Heavyweight title. So just this is quick notes. Don't panic, anybody. Fighting Spirit, Takeshita said he would take on anyone, and Shingo answered the call for Wrestle Kingdom. Ishii wants the winner at Dynasty. Historic crossover. Rotani announced she would defend the IWGP Women's Championship at Wrestle Kingdom against Azumi. On the road 2 shows before Wrestle Kingdom, Evil cuts Tanahashi's luscious locks. That's worse than what Mox is doing, in my opinion. And in the build to Dynasty, at Fighting Spirit Unleashed, Jack Perry attacked Yota Tsuji and challenged him to face him at Dynasty. So Jack's first question for you. Jack Perry lost the TNT title and now back in New Japan. It's good for New Japan. I mean, what are your thoughts on this and Jack Perry even?
I mean, we've not really seen much of Jack Perry this side of the year in AEW, but I'm intrigued to see kind of him return to New Japan and what he can do. I think we last saw him with House of Torture, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this little call out, this was intriguing, and this was something that he could do because they probably don't have anything for him after losing the TNT title at the moment. So I wasn't kind of mad at this. I was more intrigued to see like where things would go for Jack.
Yeah, without that. Also at Fighting Spirit, Moxley will send Claudio as his emissary to face Shooter at a Dynasty. That's Shooter Umino. Shooter told Mox to go fuck himself. I mean, Gina, there's a way to handle yourself, isn't there? And Shooter just is not afraid of Mox. And it's weird because the storyline at the moment in AEW is everybody's afraid of Moxley.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of feels like a breath of fresh air when you can see someone not intimidated by Mox and just say what they think there and then. It's admirable for sure. And it makes you kind of want to see the match even more because, you know, he's going in with all this confidence.
Yeah, without doubt. It'd be interesting to see what happens. The Tag League, obviously a yearly tradition. Really weird mix of people this year. Gabe challenged Omega. He also was chasing children during the tournament. Shooter pinned Zack Sabre Jr. TMDK have really kind of... I don't know what's happened, Monty. I don't know if you can fill me in here. Bishman was one of the few proper tag teams. And also had one of the greatest entrants ever with Naito and Takahashi with the tiny little steps. But what was up with the Tag League this year? It felt more about story than it did actual action.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, like you mentioned, the kind of... I don't know if this has more to say with just how they feel about their roster. I think you kind of can tell, like you mentioned, with the formation of the team, that they don't really have the deepest pantheon of heavyweight tag teams at the moment, or at least they don't seem to be as confident in these formations, and so it just kind of came off as completely nowhere near as like the tag team G1 that it usually kind of feels like. I mean, of course, it was still a tournament. The stakes are still there, but like I said, it's kind of like what we mentioned about AEW's tag division and how at the end of the day, the tag belts and even WWE at times in the past, the tag belts and the tag division in general, in my opinion, can only go as far as the quality of the division. We have, like you mean TMDK, you have some teams that are there and longer tenured and have already established themselves. But it's like it's the depth. It's how many of these teams that you saw in this tournament you thought were actual teams that could be a threat to the heavyweight tag champions. I didn't really see much of that, and I think that's what kind of happened. Now, as far as TMDK personally, I kind of think their presentation towards the end of last year, I think I can blame a little bit of not just the crossover show, but I think what I'll talk about kind of later, some of my problems with Wrestle Dynasty, and I think what you will talk about a little bit later, the team that's coming in for Wrestle Dynasty, is kind of like it contrasted what they want to do. I don't think they wanted TMDK versus the Young Bucks per se, because they're trying to sell tickets to the Tokyo Dome. And as great as we think TMDK are, it's still kind of like a foreigner versus foreigner match. So if you look at what's going to end up happening to the people who win Tag League and how they kind of get added to this situation, to me, it just sounds like, okay, we got to get these belts off them so we can get a real New Japan versus AEW feeling match. As much as we know TMDK is New Japan, and we all look at them as a New Japan team. I mean, they are pretty much the best, in my opinion, of the active roster that has been going. Mm-hmm. I just think from a marketing in Japan standpoint, the United Empire at the time, or whatever they were going to decide to do, along with going against the Young Bucks, was what they thought would sell more tickets. And I think the late edition had a lot more to do with that too. And I think that's the only way I kind of can explain it, because at first I'm like I'm thinking Nichols is hurt or something, or maybe because I see Shane Hayes teaming up with Tito and all of that, but that I don't think it has anything to do with like Nichols not being available. So yeah, I'm just like you, man. I don't really like the depiction of them as a team, like mostly them, but even like you said with Bishamon and some of the other teams that we saw as a main threat, or at least someone who felt important in the tag division, looking at this tag league did not feel like a focus was there.
Yeah. And again, that is the problem, I think, with watching New Japan, and I would say TNA and NXT different to WWE and AEW, is that if you don't see a talent around for a couple of months, you do forget about it. But usually they're in catering in the bigger companies, whereas like I said with New Japan, you don't know, maybe the contract run out and we just, they move on. And as you also mentioned with the Young Bucks, they interrupted Khan and Hanari's victory celebration and issued a challenge for the titles at Wrestle Dynasty. But then Hanari got injured, and so did Callum Newman. It's not been a great start.
Yeah.
Like we said, the tag winners were set to be in line for a title shot, but Akan said Hanari will have to vacate the title.
Yep.
So no tag match at Wrestle Kingdom, but it will be Akan and partner versus the Bucks. That will change as well. We saw a heat tag match that saw Tanahashi DQ'd for beating Evil's ass too much. The Ace told House of Torture they want him to retire a year early so they can force him to. So now it'll be a lumberjack match at Wrestle Kingdom with Tanner's career on the line. And then the tag league final, Naito and Hiromu. On the way there, Naito challenges Hiromu to a singles match at Wrestle Kingdom, which Takahashi accepts. But again, Monty, this is like, I don't want to say like a dream match, but for this to just happen like this, it was like, oh, okay. But just tell us all, just like how important this was, especially to like Takahashi.
Yeah, man. Again, for the people who don't, that's like, again, I will never. As much as I love New Japan, but especially over the last year, like this has probably been. I wanted to say this towards the end, but I might reiterate it. This has probably been one of the toughest years to watch New Japan because, from a creative standpoint, the way they're deciding to do things is just so. It's hard. I've been watching for years, and it's hard for me to defend and explain certain things the way it's supposed to because of the way they decided to do this. And but this one I can, like you said, as a big fan of both guys and a big fan of LIJ, to answer your question, Hiromu it's kind of funny how Naito and Hiromu's career mirror each other, but at the same time it's completely different. So when Hiromu was a young lion and he was kind of struggling to come along, he talked about it. Nobody ever really took the time to talk to him, or just when he was a young lion, he was struggling. You know, he's kind of chubby. He's a short guy. If you look at Hiromu as a young lion, you go look at that and be like, man, where did he get all that color and personality from? Because he looked completely different. A lot of times that happens to a lot of them, but it's really funny when you think about how eccentric Hiromu has become. But yeah, man, he was struggling. And Naito, he said the one guy who came up to him in the dojo was Naito, and he walked up to him and said, "I'd like to show you how to wrestle now," and which is hilarious in itself, and also very dangerous. Because think about this: you get Naito to teach you how to wrestle, and when you look at their careers and think about the neck injuries and how Hiromu almost had to retire and everything Naito has been through, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. It's like, well, we can see that guy showed you how to wrestle. It's pretty obvious that Naito was the one who taught him. So, but anyway, he went on the excursion. He said, when you get back, let's have a match. And so Hiromu went on the excursion, went to Mexico, had one of the greatest excursion runs ever in Mexico. They loved him and basically changed his stock in the company. He thought he was going to be fired, but he was so good on the excursion that they were really excited to get him back in 2016. Well, while he was gone, Naito was struggling as a babyface in New Japan. We told that story a million times. So, it's funny. Naito went on his second excursion, went to Mexico, and that's when before he came back and made LIJ. So they both kind of used Mexico to get where they are, and Mexico really changed their lives from a creative perspective. So Naito comes back, starts LIJ, doing his heel run and becoming, after being one of the most people just hated Naito for when he was a babyface. Now they love to hate him, and he's selling merch all out of everywhere. In 2016, he gets Hiromu to join, which just made perfect sense because of their ties to Mexico and their relationship. And basically, that match kind of got put off because they were always on the same side. They were supposed to do it again when Naito became world champion in 2020. Pandemic took that away from us because Hiromu was the junior heavyweight champion and Naito was the world champion. They were supposed to do their anniversary show. Didn't happen. So this is, like you said, it's been a match in the making. Hiromu said he would never leave LIJ until he was good enough to beat Naito. So it's always been kind of like a rivalry, friendship thing. But outside of the ring, they're two of the closest friends. Naito in December just had eye surgery. By the way, everybody was talking about how bad Naito was towards his reign or how inconsistent he was in the ring. The man was talking about how his eyes were so bad he couldn't tell if he was walking couldn't tell if he was walking on a flat surface. Everything think about this: you're walking down the street every time you walk. and the ground is slanted to you. That's how bad his eye was. So like every time everyone else is walking a straight line, he feels like he's walking down a slope at all times. That's how bad his eyesight was before he had this surgery, before Wrestle Kingdom. So, and he told a great joke after the surgery that Hiromu was there waiting on him. Was the first person he seen after the surgery, and he said that's unfortunate. I get my eye fixed, and your ugly mug is the first thing I see. So they have a great relationship. So that's why, if you don't really understand why they had the fight and why this, and I'm not trying to say this as an LIJ guy and say that this sold more tickets than Zach or whatever, but it's a lot of LIJ fans, a lot of Japanese fans who were crying because they were excited to finally get this match that they've been trying to do for years and years. It's a shame we couldn't get it when they both were at like peak health and all of that. But I just think as a LIJ fan, as somebody who's been watching New Japan and you know all of that background, it really sets the scene. So I just said all of that, James, and like you mentioned, they decided to tell us about
backstage comment.
Backstage comment.
Hey, do you want a match?
So,
yeah, all right.
Exactly. It was just like that. So that's my frustrations with New Japan in a perfect bow right there.
Anyway, moving on. Mercedes Moné defeated Hazuki for the Strong Women's Championship. This was a match of the year candidate. Moné beckoned anyone willing to step up to her at Dynasty, and Mina Shirakawa answered that call, throwing a hat in the ring. Jaxie, I mean, even before we get to Wrestle Kingdom and Dynasty, Mercedes Moné, it seems like something switched, especially in kind of New Japan. I don't know if you saw this match with Hazuki, but again, her performances recently have been top level.
Yeah, I mean, she's been pretty hot. She's been consistent in all of her matches across all different platforms that she's been a part of. She's shown up in, multiple different rings this year and towards the end of last year. And rightly so, she's proven what she can do in the ring. She's proving her, how much progression she actually has made. And it's just been really impressive to see. So I have... that there's no doubt in my mind as to why all these different promotions were like, chuck a belt on her, because she's so hot and she's delivering in the ring,
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, it's joy to watch her work at this moment in time. Moving on, at the Road 2 shows, ELP returned and has a clean bill of health. The TV title triple threat is now a fatal 4-way. He returned to action the following night. I mean, Gina, this is quite a recovery for ELP. Of course, we had the bad news, and not only is he back in Wrestle Kingdom, but back wrestling as well. I mean, fair play to ELP.
Yeah, 100% fair play to him. I honestly did not expect to see him because of what we heard or saw from the night before. And I just thought, no, they're going to have to either replace him or just cancel the match. But no, his tenacity is something to be admired for sure.
Without a doubt. Right, on to the press conference beforehand. It happened in match order. I won't go through it all, just quick notes. The War Dogs were the most confident in their match. I do like Driller. Because of those subtitles, I had no idea what Shingo, Takeshita, Ishii, Evil, and Tanahashi said, along with Doki and Despi or Tsuji. But I did understand him bringing a Gedo calendar. Finn told him to go fuck himself. Hiromu looked tired, and Naito is fun. I don't understand what he's saying, but he's just fun. Shooter seemed to be enjoying himself. Zack spoke some Japanese, just to fucking piss me off. And then Dynasty. I mean, how weird is it to see Sammy and Dustin at one of these? I mean, Monty, did you ever think Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes are going to be doing like a press conference for like Dynasty? It's like, what the fuck?
No, I did not.
No, the Bucks. The Bucks didn't show up, but did have a video. Jack Perry did. He said he's the future after going through all that shit. Brody showed up and proved that it wasn't his first rodeo. Claudio was sent there to teach Shota a lesson. They brawled, Ricochet and Zack. Ricochet said actions will speak louder than words. Mina and Monet will as well, as Mina did her promo in English. Fair play, Mina Shiraishi. I can't even say your name properly and you can speak in English. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just crazy. Gabe and Kenny was last, and it was worth waiting for. He doesn't want to be disrespected. He calls Kenny a piece of shit. Kenny says no more jokes. he chose to come back to New Japan. It is the best in pro wrestling. Kenny said he became leader. There's a reason there's a dynasty. It's because of him. He says, you think you're on Will or Jay's level, then prove it. I mean, pretty strong words there from Kenny Omega. But is he the be-all and end-all, Monty? Is he the reason for all of this? Or is it just kind of building towards, like I said, the matchup? How responsible is Omega?
I think it was a little bit of both. There's some truth to what he's saying. I think Kenny deserves a lot of the praise for New Japan even being on a lot of America, especially on worldwide, for a lot of non-Japanese people's radar. And he can damn, excuse me. He can even say he can even take credit for people like a Gabe Kidd, or even like he mentioned Jay. He mentioned the people he mentioned for a reason, like an Ospreay, because he kind of, his impact was so worldwide and so renowned. It did influence other guys who are not from Japan to try to join and work. Not only just work and go to Japan, but like go to the dojo, learn the ways of Japan. So I get that element of it. But also, is he kind of gassing himself up or kind of making himself come off as more important than he is? Yeah, I think a little bit of that is going on. But also, you got to think about it. He's also kind of leaning into who he used to be as the cleaner. And if it was one thing about younger Kenny Omega when he was in the Bullet Club, he never was short of confidence. And I think that's kind of what he's talking about. And he is kind of a different. I think we all can agree he's a different monster under the New Japan banner. And I think some of that is a part of it too, or at least that's a part of what he's talking about. So yeah, I mean, if you think about it this way, everyone talks about how great Ospreay has been over the last few years. Well, he not only looked up to Okada, but Kenny Omega was a guy who set that standard for what a lot of the stuff that Ospreay has been doing the last few years. So Kenny can definitely take that credit. So don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those people who hates on Kenny and his impact. I love Kenny. He's one of the reasons why, not really the reason why I started, but once I kind of discovered New Japan, he was definitely a big reason that kind of made me the big fan that I am. Yeah, man, I think it's a little bit of both. I think he's definitely playing it up a little bit, being a little heel here too, a little egomaniac, but also at the same time, it's some truth to what he's saying, definitely.
Without doubt. All right, so that's it. We're up to date. So it's time for Wrestle Kingdom 19, January 4th. And this year's Rambo featured stipulation tournament and number one contender to the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Of course, after Great Khan relinquished the King of Pro Wrestling Championship during the Road 2 shows. He put on an Iron Man performance along with the likes of Sanada, Honma, Ishii, and more. The match came down to a seesaw struggle on the ropes between Khan on the inside and Hiroki Goto on the outside. Inevitably, Goto won the Rambo, earning the right to challenge for the World Heavyweight title. Monty, I mean, I'll come to you first because, again, a lot going on here. What I really enjoyed, and I'm learning a lot more, is watching more of these legends who maybe should have retired, but are still getting that chance, and people that I recognize in this match.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it. I was worried about that. I was kind of worried that because of the stipulation, because it was more important this year, that you wouldn't get to see the Honmas or the Maccabes or even Josh Barnett at this point in his life can be considered that too, an older guy, But it was, and then of course the great Yuji Nagata. So to see some of those guys still kind of get that extra spotlight in the Battle Royal classic New Japan Rainbow style was awesome. But at the same time, I do think because of the fact that this is the number one contender shot here, it kind of took away some of that wild fun factor from me of the past. Like, it just used to be a great time just watching people do that. You would think adding stakes would make it feel like more exciting, but to me, it just felt like a typical Rainbow with a nice stipulation attached. It's always, you never really knew who was going to come out. I'm happy for Goto because I'm one of those guys who think that if you're not going to let Ishii I don't think at this point in his career, Ishii is going to be allowed to win a world title before his career is over. Goto is one of the only other guys left, in my opinion, then that I wouldn't mind. Who definitely, that's the only thing he's missing is a world championship. So it would be a nice one. But Goto's gimmick is also being basically second place.
Yeah,
so,
fucking that up.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing
one thing I've learned.
That's one that I love Goto to death. Goto created the Yushi Roshi. He's awesome. I love Goto, but he's a second place wrestler. That's basically been his whole story. So yeah.
But like you said, Josh Barnett was one of the surprises. Kenta power walking and Ishii destroying.
Oh, yeah.
It was still fun. I don't know why Taichi just was DQ'd. I mean, but Sanada basically eliminated himself as well. But again, they're trying to tell a story here, but I don't know. So Monty, start us off. What would you score it?
Again, I don't think you can go much lower than like a 3 1/4 or something like that. I gave it 3 1/4. It was a good time. I don't really take it too seriously, but yeah, I'm happy for Goto. Like you mentioned, I think the eliminations you kind of highlighted with Taichi and Sanada were probably the most head scratchers, because you would think, especially with Taichi's ties to Zack and Sanada, and hopefully trying to get the year started off right, you would think that the stakes would be, would keep them from an ending like that. But hey, happy for Goto. 3 1/4.
Yeah, without doubt. Sorry, Jaxie, I know we spoke a lot about that. I don't know if you caught any of the madness of the Rambo. I mean, what you score it as well?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with a lot of what Monty was saying, and from a personal point of view, because my pick was Sanada to win it. I was very confused with how Sanada got eliminated. So I think that is the main thing I remember from this, that and Goto winning. And it's not that I had a problem with Goto winning, but I was trying to rack my brain around whether or not it needed to be Goto to pick up this win. Because again, much like what Monty just picked up on, I thought that, I haven't been catching up like with weekly New Japan throughout the year of 2024. But what I do know is that Sanada made this significant heel turn, and so far has nothing to prove this being a worthy heel turn. So I did go into this really strategically thinking this might be Sanada's year to really do something different, to go down the heel route and maybe, see how he can come out on top as a heel. So I think there was disappointment there as well. So I'm going to give it a 4. I think that's fair.
Fine. Gina?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just made a random guess with this one, and I went with Gabe Kidd, who wasn't even in it. So, yeah, I think I was entertained. I'll give it a 4.
I don't want to say anything. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to give it a 3.5. A good way to start the show. Predictions. First predictions of the year. And Gina, like I said, you did go Gabe. Jackson went Sanada. Me and Monty went Taichi, all on 0. Up next, the Ichiban Sweet Boys, Robbie Eagles and Koji Fujita versus the Intergalactic Jet Setters, Kevin Knight and Kushida versus Catch 22, GLP and Francisco Akira, and Bullet Club, War Dogs, Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney in a 4-way Tokyo Terror ladder match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles. Maloney and Connors wearing fur coats while flanked by women. Cheer up, girls. It might never happen. I mean, Monty, can't you find happier women? Or were they kind of was that part of the gimmick? Do you know what I mean? Like, come on, cheer up.
You're just supposed to look at them, James. Don't care about their emotions.
Oh, sorry.
No, I mean, seriously, I think that is something Purple and I pointed out as well. I was like, seriously, these women look like they are being held captive or something. Like, is there a hidden handcuff on each of them or something? They look so goddamn miserable. I do remember that and just being like, oh, did they all just get slapped up or something? I don't know.
Yeah, and some of the camera shots were interesting, shall we say. Maybe used what we have. Anyway, with ladders and chairs in hand, the War Dogs got an early advantage by incapacitating everyone else. As they climbed to the top, Kushida propelled his body to the ladder. The last moment to deny them an easy win. TJP and Akira sent Maloney through a table, leaving Connors to contend with Knight and Eagles. Having landed on a horizontally hanging ladder, Eagles was once again dropped onto it by TJP. As Kushida held a recovered Maloney on the mat, Knight dived onto the War Dog, only to miss at the last second. Inches away from grasping the belts, Knight careened off the ladder and out of the ring as Maloney lifted the bottom rung from his prone body. Top two ladders, member of each bounce Streetborns, Boys and the United Empire battled with TGP and Eagles out of the picture. The hopeful Akira lost momentum as Vegeta held his body over the ladder while grabbing wildly for the hanging belts. Eventually are in his grasp, and you've got new junior tag team champions. Oh my God. I mean, Jaxie, what are your thoughts on this? This is the junior tag division.
Yeah, this match was so up and down. Like, I kind of felt like each of the teams were really just kind of like pushing to showcase what they could do in this match and, like, why they deserve to actually be the ones to win. So it really was like one that was hard to call, I think. There was just promise across all teams to pick up the win here. I'm a huge fan of Catch 22. I'm a huge fan of Francesco Akira and TJP. But, like, you can't deny that the chemistry of each of the teams just were really on point. Like, this was a really enjoyable match to watch, especially with just not knowing whether or not who the clear outcome or the clear winner was going to be.
Yeah, right. And Gina, I don't know about you, but this felt like, we've been watching New Japan for a little while. This felt a little less New Japan. A ladder match kind of start the show. It's like they are trying different things, and again, it made it enjoyable because maybe it's not what we're used to.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely was entertained by this match, and it, in a way, it kind of just felt like we were watching, a WWE or AEW kind of pay-per-view event with the aesthetic of the ladder match. But I'm not gonna lie, my eyes just kept going to, what's the long-haired one's name? Is it Maloney?
Yes.
Yeah, long hair, didn't he? I don't know why, but I just kept my eyes on him, not in like a funny type of way. I just meant he kind of impressed me. Obviously, I don't watch New Japan as often as I'd like to. So for me, when he first came out, I didn't really know much about him or in terms of his wrestling style or how he is. And I just found I couldn't tear my eyes away from him in this match. So I thought he definitely did well to stand out in my eyes amongst the other men who I was more familiar with.
Yeah, I'm frustrated that I didn't go for the Ichiban Street Boys. I don't know why. Monty, what were your thoughts? Because again, it seems quite a good way for, like we said, to crown new champions in this way.
Yeah, no, this is 100% a really great match. Also a great showcase. I think I gave it 4 stars. But yeah, man, just you were right on the money. I couldn't really put it better when you kind of categorize it as not feeling New Japan. New Japan is not a ladder match company. They've only done probably about 4 or 5, even though they are increasing the number of them. Because I remember, I think the very first one was like a Kenny Omega match. That should pretty much put that in perspective. They've been around since 1972, and they only that first one was like in 2016. So that should let you know how they don't really do ladder matches. And they definitely didn't really do multi-man ladder matches like this. So, yeah, man, it was a really nice sight to kind of see them try something different. I thought it was a little bit more than a spot fest too. And Kevin Knight also showcased that freak athleticism that he has. But yeah, man, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought they started it off with a good thing. And I think the thing is, since it's not done often in Japan, I saw some people saying, well, I've seen, whatever. And I'm like, well, if you're walking around trying to compare this to, like Hardy Boys ladder match back in the day, or like something you saw on AEW straight up, then of course it's not going to be as good. They're not used to that type of stuff really in Japan. So, this is really good though, in my opinion. I'm not sure how people could look at that and be like, no, they didn't do a good job. So this is great. And again, like you mentioned, the Ichiban Sweet Boys, they took care of business in Tag League. And I thought this was since they even though they kind of said screw Tag League and put all these other teams in the match. So I was kind of confused. I was like, damn, what are they gonna do then? But I'm really happy for Fujita, man. He's another one of those guys who I kind of watched his whole young line run and to see him become a champion along with Robbie Eagles, and just see how great he's gotten with the Zack Sabre Jr. TMDK type of rub for him. It's just awesome to see. It's always cool for me when I see a guy who literally was a blank slate as a wrestler and see what they become and how they become what they turn into as they become a champion for the first time. So this is hella cool for me, just from that point along. So yeah, 4 stars for me.
Yeah, Jackson, what would you score out of 5?
I think out of 5, I think 4 is still a good one. I agree with everything that Monty has said about this match. I felt like this match felt different from what we've seen of New Japan. And I could see that they are trying a lot more different type of Western practices. And for them, this was really good. I went with the Ichiban Sweet Boys and really feel
All right.
like I just was gonna say I really feel like lucky because I literally went with them because if I was like I really like their name, and every time I go with Catch 22 I get let down. So even though I feel like Catch 22 was my favorite to pick heart wise, I went I say with the brain but more with the imagination side of the brain, and was like I fucking love the name Ichiban Sweet Boys, so I'm going with them, and that was how I picked up this one. So I'm happy and pleased with the outcome as well on this.
Gina, what would you score it?
I think I'm going to give this one a 4 as well.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4 and a quarter. Predictions. Gina and I went War Dogs. Monty and Jaxie went Ichiban. So yes, Monty and Jaxie on 1. James and Gina on 0. And interestingly enough, Jaxie and Monty have both won a Wrestle Kingdom. So maybe that would become... It was about those two later on. Yeah, maybe see what happens. Up next, Mayu Iwatani versus Azumi for the IWGP Women's Championship. Azumi's speedy offense stunned Iwatani initially, who was opted for resilience of her patented zombie state. The champ withstood 2 Canadian destroyers like it was a minor inconvenience. Gnarly suplex to Iwatani by Azumi managed to earn a 1 count, despite a failed tombstone piledriver breaking her zombie mentality. Iwatani closed the match with a closed dragon suplex for the win. Gina, I mean, again, it's like I said, the New Japan with women's wrestling is kind of a new state, but it's nice to see it evolving and get a match at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, for sure. Again, this was new territory for me in seeing some of these female wrestlers. So again, this match was very interesting for me to watch, but it was a nice change of pace, especially coming off of the back of that tag match. I think it was a nice change of pace, and it definitely had me intrigued. I liked some of the women that were involved, and it made me more intrigued about them. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and again, Monty, you learned things maybe a bit too late, but I didn't realise she had a 621-day reign when I made my predictions. Maybe stuff I should look up beforehand. But I was right.
Bro, that's the only reason why I picked against her, bro. It's like, I'm like, at some point, somebody has to beat her, right? That's my logic. I love the icon. Don't get me wrong. Mayu Iwatani is literally... People talk about Charlotte Flair or whoever, Mercedes has called herself the GOAT. Whoever you want to say is the GOAT. Mayu Iwatani is... I know a lot of people may not be able to get as much eyes on her, but everything that people say about Io, everything people say about Asuka, Mayu Iwatani has been that for Stardom and for a long time. She's everything I said about Tanahashi or Okada in the past. She is that for Stardom. So it has been that. So even though she may not be the ace on top right now in Stardom, she, like you said, 600 something days. And as much I love Azumi, that's kind of why I went for it. I thought it was a great, perfect time to kind of pass the torch to Azumi. I'm not sure how long Mayu is going to even still be with Stardom going forward. A lot of people don't. There's a lot of questions about her future. But hey, she wins again, and I just got, like I said, as much as I'm always happy, I know I'm one of those guys, and I'm finna sound like one of those Western people that I see a lot of Japanese fans complain about. I get it, I understand, but I'm just saying we're taking baby steps. I'm happy that they're on the card. Don't get me wrong. And by the way, if you're gonna do a match under 10 minutes, this is how you do it. This is classic stuff. They've done better than this, But for like an 8-minute match, you can't really tell me you can do much better than this in 8 minutes. But anyway, besides that, I just want us to. I want next year, and this is just me saying this as a New Japan fan, someone who's watched how far they've come in the last 3 or 4 years, that they've been really working more with Stardom in this capacity. I just want us to get over. I need us to get over the 10-minute mark when it comes to a women's showcase match in Wrestle Kingdom. We got them off the pre-show. We got them off. We're moving. We're moving forward. But now I want us to get to at least letting them go a little bit longer than that, because these girls can do it. They do it all the time on their own shows, their own events. So it'd be nice if they could do that in front of the Wrestle Kingdom crowd in the Tokyo Dome. But this was awesome. Don't get it twisted. I really like this one. Another great match from the Icon. I gave it 4 stars.
Yeah. And again, Jaxie, it's true, isn't it, what Monty's saying? Because again, it might be new for New Japan. Of course, we're used to it now. But then again, the Women's Revolution, when the Divas title and those dark days when they were getting a couple of minute matches, just, once they're given time and proven they can, we've seen it work,
Yeah, we've seen major progression happen over the past couple of years, I would say. And that would be for the women's division across all countries. It's been really nice to see. And I could get used to this, we're seeing new women's belts introduced across all different promotions. And it gives a lot of these women more of a chance to shine. So I think, in my opinion, this can only be a good thing. I think that Monty had a lot of great points, but I'm with you as well on this, James. I wish I did a bit more homework on, Mayu's current run. Had I known that, and had I known that she'd be sort of like sort of the Japanese version of what I don't want to call her by her old name, Athena. Sorry, Athena is currently doing, or her current reign, I would have chosen differently. So I think this match was good, and exactly like Monty said, I think they had like 10 minutes to work with, and they just gave it to us. This match overall was really good. I gave it a 4-2. I thought it really showcased them well, and I'm interested in like sort of the runs that both women are going to have going into 2025, and wonder whether or not there'll be sort of more exciting matches between the two.
Yeah, without doubt. Gina, what would you score this one?
Yeah, I'll give this one a 4 as well. I would give it a little higher if they did have longer than 10 minutes, but I still think it was a great match, and what they gave in that time was awesome.
Yeah, without doubt. And good news as well, predictions. Gina and I did go Mayu. Monty and Jaxie went to Zumi, so we're all on one as we head to El Fantasmo versus Ren Narita versus Jeff Cobb versus Ryo Iowa for the NJPW World Television Championship. Hopeful Phantasmo's top rope aspirations onto Cobb were dashed by Iowa, leading to a Tower of Doom spot with Cobb as a sturdy base. He is a sturdy base, isn't he? Iowa's Dr. Bomb nearly earned a pinfall over Cobb had it not been for Narita. Cobb broke Narita's reintroduced board, followed suit with a tour of the islands, but couldn't make the pin. Phantasmo, however, took out Narita with the Thunder Kiss 86 for the win, and your new TV champion, ELP. Monty, this was just a feel-good moment, even without the match. Yeah. Well, I guess you need the match, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. The situation is 100% like an A++ just in general. We know what ELP is battling through, and to come back and kind of, to win a championship and a championship. This is another thing that I didn't really see people talk about. I agree. I'm very happy he's back, and I'm happy that he's won, but this is a belt that he's also kind of perfect for. He's in that same ilk, in my opinion. I'm not saying he is Zack Sabre Jr., but the way Zack was great in a 15-minute format and being a great television champion who's going to go out there and give a great match every time, I think ELP can represent this belt also in an awesome way. As much as I like Ren Narita, we all know that he was not necessarily he was not trying to go about his reign the same way that Zack was. And then of course he wouldn't. He's a freaking psychopath at this point in his life. Yeah, man, Jeff Cobb did awesome as usual. This was a really fun 4-way match. And again, and I think that might be the underlying theme of this Wrestle Kingdom in a sense, because again, they don't really do 4 ways for singles belts in as much. Especially when they were, for that belt right there, that they were kind of keeping, in a one-on-one type of setting for the most part in this run. So it was really cool to see everybody, like I said, Oiwa, of course, and in his spot and having the chance to become a champion. So again, I got the guys that I've watched since they were really young and Randy Reed and Oiwa, and then I got a guy like Jeff Cobb, who I always thought the world of. So I can't ask for much more. It had some fun moments too, memorable things, and then like I said, then you have the ending and ELP becoming a champion, overcoming everything he had. You can't really ask for much more, man. In the middle of a pretty good card so far.
Yeah, right. Well, one thing that we can ask for it not to happen, and Jaxie, I don't know about you, but the House of Torture and their nonsense. I know you said you were a fan, but again, it's just the same thing every match, Jaxie. They just do it. They rend the Rita with his fucking ball.
Yeah, I mean, even I must have to admit to myself that it's becoming like very annoying. They're becoming less of like sort of what I was hoping would be like more of a dominant threat, like maybe them be taken seriously as a group with how darker they were getting. But they're just irritating at this point, aren't they? So I wasn't too impressed with like Ren in this. He's really coming into like his own character, and I'm enjoying seeing that progression. But from like a wrestling point of view, I was just screaming at Ren to just shut up and sit down. But again, I'm very happy with the outcome, with El Fantasma picking up the win.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again, Gina, I mean, we talked about ELP earlier, and it's great to make a recovery. But I think the thing is now, he's got his moment. Let's have a proper run with it, and let's show ELP now that he can go for the year, just show what a good champion is, like Monty touched on.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know why I didn't do better research. I think I'm just going to mimic everything that you guys said, because obviously I didn't go with this, but it does make sense for him to have, a proper run. He's so hyped at the moment as well. Him coming back when we thought he probably might go off for an injury. It just shows like he's got this, star quality that needs to be showcased like right now. So yeah, it was a great match.
Yeah, right. So scores out of 5 then. Monty, what would you give it?
I gave this a 4. I gave it a 4.
Oh.
So yeah.
Jaxie?
I gave this a 4.25.
Paula and Gina?
Yeah, same 4.25.
I gave it a 4. Predictions. Gina went Narita. Rest went ELP. So Gina on 1. The rest are on 2. Up next, more House of Torture nonsense as Hiroshi Tanahashi defeated Evil in a lumberjack match. Should he have lost, he would have retired sooner. I mean, Evil dished out every dirty tactic he could devise. But the fight of the ace has a fire in him that refuses to go out so easily. Tanahashi did get smashed with chairs and spray painted colleagues like Master Wato. Evil sought to ruin anything Tanahashi held dearly: his health, his career, his friends. Tanahashi made a rousing comeback featuring a sling blade and a veiled high fly flow thwarted by Dick. Evil proceeded to throw everything at Tanahashi, confident it would beat him. After a dead end, Evil went for a pin, ended near full reversed by Tanahashi. In his reversal, Tanahashi gained the pinfall victory, but House Torture kept beating him down. And then Shibata emerged to his rescue, and following the same, Shibata challenged Tanahashi for Wrestle Dynasty. So only a little bit going on there. Jaxie, I come to you first. I mean, fuck Evil. I will say that. This was just evil. Fuck Evil.
This was quite an enjoyable match because of for someone like me that is not used to watching week in, week out New Japan, it's rare to get a lumberjack match on a New Japan card. So I found this very interesting, and I loved seeing Shibata come out for the save. But again, very much my same thoughts as what I said within the sort of fatal 4-way and Ren Narita's tactics. It was the same for Evil. Like the thing is, I kind of really was pushing for like whether or not Evil could have like a decent singles run, but every time he's in the ring, he's so annoying. He really gets me behind anyone else that's not him, and that's saying a lot because you guys know like my ups and downs feelings for Tanahashi, but even I was there chanting for Tanahashi to kick Evil's ass and just pick up this win. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's how you know that you're getting under my skin, is that I'm actually cheering for Tanahashi. Like that's like me cheering for Charlotte Flair, okay? So actually I'm not gonna go, I'm not gonna go that far. I wouldn't say that I despise Tanahashi.
No.
Well, I don't despise Charlotte Flair, I just feel like she's just that's for a different
Right,
story.
anyway, yeah, we'll move on.
I enjoyed this match though. I thought it was a really good one. And you know, I did feel like this was not the way that Tanahashi was going to go. So I'm pleased that I went with Tanahashi for the win here.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the thing is as well, Gina, as Monty has mentioned, and he has said this before about Tanahashi comparing him to like a John Cena. And I always thought like what you're talking about. But when you realise Tanahashi has main evented 10 Wrestle Kingdoms, 10, and 5 in a row during his time, and now he's having to do with fucking Evil, and you're like, poor bastard, you know. I mean, this is your retirement run, you have to deal with it, but it just shows you how big a star Tanahashi has been, and it's just a shame we're kind of getting in the last bit, at least we're getting a little bit low.
Yeah, for sure. I have to mirror everything that my sister said, because again, it's not like I dislike Tanahashi. I've just never been too fond of him, but even I was rooting for him during this match. So, but again, with Evil, I think he's done well to grow this sort of passion and hatred towards him, for sure. But I also think Mans is just doing his job. He's getting his pay, you know. So in a way, I can't blame Evil. I still think it was a good match and it was enjoyable. Half the time I'm rolling my eyes watching Tanahashi, but this time around, like you said, you can just really get a grasp of like his star quality and the legacy that he'll built through New Japan. So I definitely feel I got humbled this match by Tanahashi, for sure.
And Monty, again, Evil didn't even lose his fucking hair, which I'm pretty sure was part of the stipulation. But the good news is he has quit.
Did you see that?
So
hair?
at least
Why
there's
would
that.
you do that?
Well, yeah, but still,
stipulation.
Stipulation.
Bro. Why would you do that? Why would you do that, man? Anyway, first of all, of course he's not losing that hair. It's nice. I'm glad y'all said everything you guys said, because I have been one of the few people with my New Japan mutuals who have been trying to champion this match. And you guys make my point for why I think this match is great. Do I think is it like Okada, Omega anytime they fought? Hell no. That's not what they're going for. But the fact that everybody in the dome was screaming, you guys were at home rooting for Tanahashi to win, that is the entire point of the House of Torture. That is why, for some reason, they are top merch sellers along with LIJ. That's why you're never probably going to get rid of them. Like, as much as I understand why people don't like Evil is literally in a restrictive gimmick. First of all, his whole gimmick is almost like a pun on his name. You're supposed to not like Evil, people. Like that's the whole point. But not only that, he's in a restrictive gimmick. Right, he's in a restrictive gimmick. Like I'm one of the few people who know. You guys, I get it. You guys never saw what Evil was before. But like, if you go back and would ever seen what Evil was when he was in LIJ and how he used to wrestle, was he ever the greatest wrestler? Not really, but he could go. He always could. But he's in a gimmick now to where he doesn't do. By the way, he's probably gonna wrestle a long time if they keep this gimmick, because he don't have to do a lot by comparison to people like Naito and even Tanahashi. And it's the reason why Tanahashi's knees are shot. Like you mentioned, James, 10 Wrestle Kingdoms, like that'll do that to your knees, working that New Japan style. But anyway, I just thought this was genius because, again, yeah, in my mind, did I know Tanahashi was not going to go out that way? 100%. But the fact that we know at the end of the day, a lumberjack match is the perfect type of match for House of Torture to do House of Torture things. And you just had to figure out how was the old man going to win another match that you probably didn't think he had any business winning, which has basically been Tanahashi's gimmick since like 2018. Pretty much since he kind of slowed down from being a legit main eventer. So, yeah, man, I think, again, this was great to me. I understand why people don't like it or don't like House of Torture matches. I'm not going to argue with it because I understand what the standard that people are looking for when they come to New Japan for matches. But for what it was, since I kind of get why they are who they are, and I understand why the fans in Japan really love them, and at the end of the day, as much as they love this worldwide audience they're not going to listen to people who not paying tickets to come see them over the people who are buying all those T-shirts and coming to the show. So, yeah, House of Torture forever, James. I'm sorry.
Okay, right. That's just horrible. Evil's quit though, and again, hope he never comes back. But Shibata did show up and got a great response. Why was this moment so special, Monty, for people that might not know?
Well, add on Shinsuke Nakamura, and you have the original Three Musketeers of New Japan that saved this company back when the great Antonio Inoki, after his period of trying to turn New Japan into Pride MMA, they shifted. Because he was getting Paul Yuji Nagata had to go out there and fight legit fighters, and it was not pretty, guys, not pretty at all. But Tanahashi, like we mentioned, Shibata, and of course Shinsuke Nakamura. They were the original Three Musketeers. They started this entire thing that kind of got Shota Umino and everybody all in a tizzy when they tried to just New Japan just name a couple of more Musketeers. So yeah, man, they kind of started this tradition of building around three top stars in your division with Nakamura, Shibata, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. So yeah, man, legendary stuff right there, and that's the reason why people so emotional. Plus Shibata and New Japan, we know their relationship. A lot of people don't know if they were ever going to see him over there again.
Well, luckily, we're going to get these two legends clash at Wrestle Dynasty. Hope it doesn't disappoint. Scores then out of that. Jaxie, what would you score Evil versus Tanahashi?
I'm going to give this a 3 3/4.
3/4. Gina?
Same.
And Monty?
I gave it 4 1/4.
4 1/4. I'm going to give it 3.5. Predictions, we went Tanahashi. So Gina on 2, rest on 3. Up next, Konosuke Takeshita versus Shingo Takagi for the Never Openweight Championship and AEW International title. Two behemoths collided. We said with 2 titles on the line. Shingo prevented a dive from Takeshita, turning the tide with a Death Valley driver. It was an evenly matched collision and standoff. Takeshita swung the trajectory in his favour. He nearly gained a pinfall with a Blue Thunder bomb, but Shingo soundly countered it with a Last of the Dragon. Lariats and clotheslines, one after another, led to Takeshita clutching control of the match. One last Blue Thunder bomb. Takeshita ended the Never Openweight Championship to a collection of now 2 belts. Gina, what were your thoughts on this matchup?
I really enjoyed this match. I do feel like I'm starting to get a bit of a bias towards Takeshita. I couldn't help but always warm towards him. But the thing is, I absolutely love Shingo as well. So it was really hard to not root for Shingo during this match. But like I said, I've grown a slight bias towards Takeshita right now. So watching this match, it felt really I felt torn, basically. I thought the match itself was great. I think Takeshita is really being showcased well, not only on New Japan, but on AEW TV as well. So I enjoyed it. I thought they both gave as good as they got, but I think it was the right choice in Takeshita taking the win and keeping his, kind of winning streak going.
Yeah, I mean, because Monty, as we know, in the battle of AEW versus New Japan, AEW always comes out on top.
Yeah, seemingly, especially when Takeshita is involved. But you know what? I wouldn't say that though, because after not soon after this, he signed the weirdest contract I've ever heard in my life. But I'm so happy he did it because he's not just an AEW talent anymore. He's also contractually obligated to New Japan, which is crazy. I've never really heard of something like that. especially when he has ties to other Japanese promotions. But they've kind of, eased up on those laxes. So this one wasn't really AEW versus New Japan as you would traditionally think about it. But of course, I didn't necessarily know that watching it. But it was great. It was just a great match. I don't know, man. I had heightened expectations, like what I was expecting. And also, James, I think they did this for people like you who did not enjoy the House of Torture dramatics. I was like, all right, well, just in case we lost you, let's just have these two big dudes go out there and beat the hell out of each other. And that's exactly what they did. Exactly what I always pretty much have come to expect from Shingo. And I think at this point, again, I don't know if Shingo will ever get back to the heights that he once was in New Japan, even though I do think he's deserving of that. But going out there and delivering really great matches with talents like a Takeshita, you can't really go wrong. It's kind of like maybe because Ishii is slowly but surely probably getting closer to his day of retirement. You can let a Shingo come in, but the interesting thing about that, Shingo is not that far off in age from Ishii. So, I know he don't fight like it, but Shingo is a vet, and it's really be interesting. I can't wait to see what he does the rest of the year going forward too, because I think they have so many great opportunities with Shingo. And sometimes you take a guy like Shingo for granted because he's so well rounded and can be a main eventer, but at the same time make a new star. But at the same time, just be Shingo. So yeah, man, this is great. Don't get me wrong. I was always impressed with Takeshita, but at this point, I feel like saying I'm impressed with Takeshita. Who isn't? I don't see how you can watch Takeshita fight and not be impressed. So yeah, man, this is another really great showcase. Perfect match for the belt that they were fighting for. I mean, this is literally what the never open weight title is all about. A fight like that. That's why Ishii's trying to fight the winner, because this is his style of match. This is his championship if you really go off history. So yeah, man, this is great. Good stuff. I gave it like 4.5. You can't really. I mean, come on, man. This is just let these guys go out there and do their thing. You sit back, grab something to eat, and watch.
Yeah, I mean, can we get Shingo and Sheamus just once, please? I don't know how we can get that, but I just want to see that matchup. But Jack's here's Monty saying this match couldn't be bad, And Takeshita, again, is just one of those wrestlers who seems to be getting better every time we see him.
Yeah, exactly. I think you guys kind of really hit all of the main points that I would bring up regarding this match in both wrestlers. I think that every sort of partner that Takeshita has recently shared a ring with has really just showcased his versatility in the different types of wrestling styles, pacing, and different types of matches. He's just really ticking all the boxes right now, and he's on a real high. So I think it would have been stupid to bet against Takeshita right now. But also, why would you? Because as Monty rightly said, who wouldn't love Takeshita at the moment? So for me, this was a really good showcase for him. Shingo still shows that he can still keep up with all of these sort of new upcoming young talents. It was just a great match, and I agree with Monty. I gave this 4.5. It was really good.
Yeah, Gina, what would you score it?
Yeah, 4.5.
Yeah, I'll go 4 3/4. Really good stuff. Predictions: all Takeshita, so Gina on 3, the rest on 4. Up next, El Desperado versus Doki for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. We saw Shido Nakamura's presence in Doki's entrance, made for a spectacle, made possible by massive events like this, and made him look like a huge star. From the first battle, Desperado sought to slow the flow of this match, throwing everything, including himself, at the champ. Desperado maintained relative control. Doki attempted a top rope seated senton on the outside, but landed on his elbow nastily on the blue steel barricade. Officials declared Doki was unfit to continue. Despy was visibly upset by this turn of events. I mean, Monty, man, this is just a fucking bummer, because you know how much I was digging these two and this story heading into Wrestle Kingdom as well.
Yeah, I mean, then like I said, not only the familial history that they have too, you gotta take that into account. Them being basically brothers. So just I can only imagine how Desperado felt watching Doki in that situation, because this is supposed to be a moment, kind of like what I mentioned for Hiromu and Naito, just like a personal moment between the two wrestlers, but also a big time match that people wanted to see. So I feel like that's exactly what this kind of was for them, and for it to be cut short like that. These things happen. I know Doki, you can kind of tell he was getting kind of choked up, but he mentioned, I mean, not Doki, but Desperado mentioned after the match that, this is obviously, these things happen. He's frustrated. He would love, he's obviously welcoming Doki so they can do it again one day. But yeah, you can just see with that whole speech after the match, he was very frustrated. And nobody likes when these type of things happen, man. And it sucks. It just really, really sucks because I know that they were going to go out there and do something really special. And the ironic thing about this is, as a matter of fact, Hiromu used to do a similar down. I think he still does it from time to time. But I remember when I very first seen Doki, before Doki ever became as good as he ended up being. I remember telling my wife when I first time ever seeing Doki, and I was like, because like his whole gimmick basically was he was willing to do anything, and that's kind of like the whole thing about Doki is nothing he won't do, nothing he won't try. He's insane in a sense like that, and he always does this in time. It's not the first time he's done this. He does it all the time. But the very first time I seen him do that move, I said, "There's no way he's gonna hurt himself doing that move." And then so I did not. Why did it have to happen now though? Like at Wrestle Kingdom, at the worst possible time. I just knew like that move. I just no way I'd be doing that, and that's part of what make him him. But yeah, that's one of those reasons why that move gets the pop it gets. It's one of the reasons why it was a part of who he is. So it just really sucks the timing of it. And to happen like this, like you mentioned, James, when everybody was kind of anticipating this match. So, yeah, man, just really unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, his arm bent back, and the referee was quick. The two are destined to meet again, but it is a shame. Predictions, I mean, the girls went for Doki and boys went for Despy, so it means me and Monty on 5, Jaxie on 4, Gina on 3. As we move on to the next match, which is Yota Tsuji versus David Finlay for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. And Finley's underhanded tactics gained him an early advantage. 3 consecutive dominators by Tsuji immobilized Tsuji, but could not get the job done. He did make a brief comeback, trounced by 4 consecutive power bombs, once again to no avail. Tsuji pulled out a Gene Blaster, but Finley countered with a gun stun into oblivion. Tsuji successfully landed a Gene Blaster and went for the pin, but Finley lifted his leg to the rope at the 2. Finley threw everything else he could, but Tsuji reached deep within himself to deliver a power bomb and one last Gene Blaster to pinfall victory to a thunderous Tokyo Dome crowd. Your new global champion is Yota Tsuji. Jaxie, what were your thoughts on this? Because again, after what we had just seen with the injury, crowd's a little bit maybe quiet, and these two guys, maybe surprisingly, picked it up.
Yeah, it was just a very much more energetic crowd for sure when this match turned around, and I didn't think anybody kind of expected sort of like the high caliber match we did get, when that was just that had you transfixed to the TV really, because it really was like a series of will he stay down on this pin? You could tell both men were just continuously fighting to not get this take this L here. And it was a very exciting match, and I think it was a great outcome that left the audience feeling a lot more uplifted compared to sort of the events that have taken place just recently, minutes before,
About that. And Gina, say what you will, I mean, Finn in this situation has done everything possible in the role. Like I said, maybe not be Jay White, might not be, what we've had before, but again, he's done everything possible, and now he's putting a banger at Tokyo Dome. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like if he had tried to mimic too much of what Jay White had done, he would just probably get slack for that. I think it's best that he, kept his character to the way that he wanted to play it and not just mimic somebody else because they were so big as that role. So yeah, I definitely got to give it to David Finlay because he really did commit to his character, and he created his own story in New Japan, and I got respect for that. But no, it was definitely a good match, and I really like Tsuji. He's definitely one of the top New Japan wrestlers that I can say are in my top faves.
I think it's what is exciting. And Monty, I'm sure you're going to agree. But again, we talk about like Tanahashi and Naito and all these other wrestlers with great careers. And I think with Yota Tsuji, we're actually witnessing, like I said, this kind of first big step. And this guy is going to run New Japan in the foreseeable future. And I think it's just quite exciting that we've seen that, you know, especially it's like coming over from Excursion and now his match here. And again, Monty, did you think this match was going to be as good as it was?
I had an idea, man. It's the reason why I put Finlay on my underrated, because I felt like his work for a long time has been special, and ever since I've seen Tsuji return from Excursion, I've been so impressed. Like the beautiful thing about Yota Tsuji, like you just mentioned, is like with Shota Umino, with a couple other guys, Fuji, even Ren Narita to an extent. Even Oiwa, like you could, when they were young lions and the way the crowd would react to some of those guys, you can kind of tell that they had the potential to be a big deal. Yota Tsuji was a guy who worked hard as a young lion, but he did not give off the vibes of someone who would be as anywhere near as good as he was. And I don't know if it's just something they do in Mexico. I don't know. He went to the UK too, to be fair. But I've also heard people say he wasn't that good. It wasn't anywhere near as good as he was in Real Pro as he ended up being after he went to CMLL. So I don't know if it's anything about Mexico or whatever it is, but whatever it did to Tsuji and whatever, maybe the fact that he had to go to two places on Excursion lit a fire under him. But he's just been on fire pretty much since debuting and being who he is and just being how good he is. You're right on the money, James. He's going to be a guy that you're going to see possibly at the bottom of these cards, kind of like we mentioned with Tanahashi or even Naito or Okada. You know, he's probably going to be one of those guys that's going to be in the mix for a long time coming. And I think that's the great thing about watching New Japan at this time. You have the potential to see, you can see some guys who are on their last leg and they're running out, but you also can see the future and see who could be at the top of the card going forward for New Japan as they try to replace their ace. So, yeah, man, this was special. I again, to say that I think it was going to be like anywhere near as good as it ended up being, I mean, I probably been giving myself too much credit, but I definitely thought it had the potential to be really good. And they went out there and they did a really great job. And I'm just so happy for Finlay, man. Finlay doesn't get anywhere near the amount of love or press because it just so happened that when he takes over the Bullet Club and he really starts to come into his own, well, Okada leaves or Ospreay leaves, eyeballs on New Japan goes down. So he doesn't get the amount of attention that Kenny Omega, AJ Styles, some of those other Bullet Club leaders, Jay White got. So that's just that's kind of like the unfortunate thing about timing. But if you just go off work and like you mentioned, James, his dedication to his character, Finlay has been a bright spot in a rough patch for New Japan, in my opinion. And this match is a perfect example of it. He passed the torch to Tsuji in a perfect manner, and I'm just really excited for what Yota Tsuji can do now as champion as he tries to build up this still relatively new title.
Yeah, without doubt. So scores then, Jaxie, what would you give it?
I mean, this was a really great match for me. I gave this 4 3/4.
4 3/4. Gina?
Yeah, I'm going to also give it 4 3/4.
Yeah, and Monty?
I gave it 5 stars.
5 stars. I'm going to go 4 3/4. Predictions, we went Yota. So James and Monty on 6, Jackson on 5, Gina on 4. Up next, Tetsuya Naito versus Hiromu Takahashi. And Naito prepared for any and everything Takahashi could think of. It won't be easy. A time bomb to the outside finally granted Takahashi an opening plant and a dynamite plunger to his stablemate. Naito began to make a comeback, but failed a second. Destino returned momentum to Takahashi, courtesy of a time bomb. Softened the neck of Takahashi with elbows. Naito's efforts were countered with a Destino by Takahashi, followed by another time bomb. Naito weakened Takahashi's with holes and Destinos, leaving Takahashi on his knees. Eventually, Naito landed one that granted him a bittersweet pinfall victory. Gina, I mean, what were your thoughts on this? Because we know it's two stable mates, but again, this was fun for what it was.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely fun. I was definitely entertained, a bit burnt out, but entertained. The match just was great. I don't think there is much more I can say about it other than what you had given. already said and given, but yeah, for me it was a top match, and I was entertained all throughout.
Monty, did it live up to the hype?
Of course not, man. Of course not. Hell no. I mean, not just, and I'm not
Why
even
did
saying
you
from
say
a
that? I thought it
Well,
was a good match.
And I agree with you. I think it was good too, but I also am well aware of where they are. And I think some New Japan fans, some people who talk about this match, talk about how bad it was, but they're only thinking about it from a perspective of Naito is a shell of himself, or Hiromu is not the same either. But think about their injury list. Of course, neither guy is who they were. And I think what happens is when you have a match like this that's hyped up between two guys who you've been wanting to see fight since they were really in their primes, I think what happens is people make up their mind in their head about how good it is. It reminds me, James, you'll get this. Shinsuke Nakamura, AJ Styles, WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody thought they were going to get another Wrestle Kingdom match, and I agree, it's nowhere near as good as that. But I think that match at WrestleMania was damn good. I was there live. Maybe I'm a little biased, but I thought it was good. It just wasn't what it was in New Japan, and that's because we're thinking about that. We're thinking about what they were. We're not thinking about what we're going to possibly be getting in this particular match, and I think that's kind of what happens now. Again, I'm not saying it was a 5-star classic or anything. And trust me, I'm biased. I would love to say that, but I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I do not think it lived up to the hype, but that's just because the hype was very high. I think, like you mentioned, Jay, I think the perfect description, it was good for what it was, and it's good for where they are in their career. That's just the way I look at it. You gotta think about it. 19 days before this match, Naito couldn't see. Okay, he couldn't even see. Like these guys are both guys in the sense. Like I said, Hiromu has come back from a neck injury that most people would have stopped wrestling. He's kind of Daniel Bryan'd it out pretty much so far in his career. So think about that. Like you put everything in this context, I think it's great. But if you're looking at it and you're expecting them to try to kill each other like both guys would do in their prime, because if they both were in their prime, trust me, you would have saw a lot more dropping on their necks. And you still got a lot of spots like that, in my opinion, where I'm like, oh. And I think that's what happens. We see Naito and who he used to be, and now when he wrestles his style, we're all concerned and we're all worried. You know what I'm saying, James? I think that kind of takes away from what Naito does, because some of what made Naito so great was how the hell he get up from there. That's what makes Naito who he is. So when you can't really do that and you're obviously getting older, you're gonna leave some people disappointed. I wasn't disappointed. I was happy that we got it, but at the end of the day, of course, your brain is gonna say, "Damn, I wish you would have got this in 2020 or years before that when they both were in their prime."
But again, though, I mean, Jackson asked you this because again, you didn't have the expectation into the match. I thought rather than it being about the wrestling, I think the story beats of a guy, versus your leader and trying to get that job done just to prove, like I said, no hard feelings, but to show that you're on that level. I think the match did the job.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the elements that I took from this match, personally. Again, I'm not someone who consistently watches a lot of this weekly. So I think that the expectations I had for this match were probably a bit lower than what, someone like on Monty's sort of mindset would have been for this match. And I must say that I was pleasantly surprised because of that, and at how much I enjoyed watching these two go back and forth and really just seeing like the chemistry between the two of them and, knowing who's at their limit and how to help carry and how to support. It was a great match between both of them. And again, from someone who doesn't regularly watch New Japan Wrestling, I found this to be an enjoyable match.
Yeah, without a doubt, I thought it was quite good. Anyway, scores then for this one. Gina, what would you give it?
I gave this a 4.5.
4.5. Monty?
Yeah, I gave it a 4. I thought it was good too. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was good. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I know, but we are.
But yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Jackson?
Right.
Yeah, I'm giving this a 4.25.
So, I'm going to give it 4.25 as well. Predictions: Jackson went Takahashi, Rest went Naito. So it means the boys were on 7, the girls were on 5. And the main event, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shota Umino for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. And again, I was surprised this was the main event, but I guess we're making history now. Umino's back, while not notable at first, grew to become an important factor. Umino is showered in boos. Throughout any swing of momentum, his eyes glare in reproach, kind of going away from the babyface role that we know him is. But he slips on his way to the top rope, where his ankle. Umino was ensnared by Sabre. A last-ditch effort by Umino saw Death Driver from the top rope, leaving Sabre prone. Viciously, Umino kicked and stomped on the champ's helpless body. At last, Umino's ankle caught up with him. Sabre, ever the opportunist, deployed the Sabre drivers and a Suzuki-esque pole driver for one last Sabre driver, put Umino down once and for all. Monty, what were your thoughts on this? Because again, we discussed if this was main event level worthy. Did it live up to it?
I want to apologize to Zach for, I don't know if he got on Twitter after this match, but man, they were killing this man. and I think honestly my biggest problem with it was just that if you look at the time, this match was 41 minutes, bro. Like I think Jackson just said earlier, by this time in the show, you probably already burnt out. You got to sit through a 41-minute match between two guys who I love Shota Umino, but I don't think nobody think he's ready for the championship. And we all know that at this point, because they kind of did the actual title exchange early, that Zach wasn't most likely going to lose it. So honestly, I was just like you, James, going into this. I'm like, honestly, I don't know what, but to be fair, they sold tickets based off a lot of the Naito, Hiromu stuff, the Tanahashi stuff, and of course Zach was a part of it. But this is one of the first Wrestle Kingdoms where I don't think they sold the Tokyo Dome out because of the title match, and it was so weird watching this from that perspective as a fan, because I thought they went out there and they actually told a good story, and this was a really good match. I gave it 4.5. So I really enjoyed the match. I just thought it was lengthy. I think it could have been even better if they could have cut it almost to like 25 minutes, especially when you think about the fact that we kind of expected that Zach would win. So that's probably my only thing about it. I saw online like people really didn't like it, and they were saying Zach is overrated. And I'm just like, since when Zach is the problem? Like, how is Zach the problem? Like, booking and certain things, I get. You can complain about that, and maybe Shota isn't ready. All right, if you want to say that, sure. Or, but to say Zach is the problem or he's not as a champion, he's born, you guys are the one who pushed it. That's another thing, James. It pissed me off from that perspective. A lot of these same people are the ones pushing Naito out of the picture. Yeah. So, like, how you going to complain when you get the match that you guys basically pushed for? So, yeah, man, no. I thought it was a good match. I just thought it was long. That's my only real complaint about it.
But I think the funny thing, and you mentioned a few times, and again, especially with New Japan and Tokyo Dome attendance and everything like this, it is vitally important, from what I've learned, to have, like I said, the Japanese talent at the forefront. They're the ones selling the tickets. For me, I'm thinking even if you put like Roman Reigns in the main event, the Tokyo Dome, yes, a lot of Westerners would be like, that's interesting. But again, people are like, well, this is not. Do you know what I mean? Like when you look at the
right, where's Tanahashi or where's Okada?
Exactly. Yeah, Tanahashi, Okada, and like we said, through that, it's a bit weird at this moment in time, especially with Shota. But again, I mean, Jackson, this was a big moment for Shota because we talked about Yota Tsuji passing with flying colours, and Umino, the crowd reaction to him. Everybody knows he's not ready. And yet they went out there and still, like Monty said, give a 40-minute match. Should they maybe done something different and Shota would just maybe like turn into House of Torture for a little while, just all the dirty tricks just to get the crowd ready against him,
Yeah. I mean, again, like I feel like I'm going to be answering your question with a question for the guru behind this, Monty. But, it seems to me that especially within 2024, like Shota has not had the greatest of years. He's been taking a lot of pretty important L's. And again, like I can't help but feel like there was like, especially towards the end of the match, sort of like a depleted look coming about him where like he's almost like he's starting to not believe in him, like, and have faith within himself and his own abilities. And I think just as James is saying, like, is 2025 a year where Shota needs to change things up, even if it means changing and switching to dirty tactics? It just seems like his character at the moment seems like it may be going a bit stale for him, for the audience, for his in-ring competitions. Or, I mean, what would you say that's a fair opinion? Because again, I don't watch it week in and week out, but
No, 100%. No, you're 100%
right.
on the money, man. It's been a horrible year. I mean, he was one of those guys, I think, leading the pack initially, and then like you guys mentioned, basically him and Ren Narita for story reasons for the most part has kind of fell down that rankings, and you can push Suji right to the top as the musketeer, really, or at least he feels like the guy who gets it. And then you can even push guys like a Gabe Kidd and some of these other people ahead of even Shota Umino, of people who really feel like that you could put the company on their back. And we'll talk about Gabe a little bit later, but yeah, man, I agree. I think something has to change. He feels like he's already kind of it's kind of funny. He looks like Tanahashi, and he came out with the energy of someone who can replace Tanahashi and be a young Tanahashi, or he be in that spot. But he's also influenced by Naito, and he feels like he's already at that young Naito point that I mentioned, where the fans just wasn't feeling Naito as a straight up babyface, and maybe what he needs to do is stop caring. But the thing is, Naito's already done that, so he's gonna have to do something that we haven't seen Naito do. Something that he obviously won't be just the straight up ace. And the thing is that made Tanahashi work is that unquestionably, as great as Nakamura was, as great as Shibata was at what they did, unquestionably Tanahashi was the ace. It was nobody who looked like him physique wise. He was the ladies loved looking at a young Tanahashi. He had it. He was the guy. You know, Nakamura was the king of strong style. Shibata was also a guy who's going to beat the hell out of you. They were more rough. Tanahashi was completely different. Go ahead.
I think you saying all this right now, and then like if you take it back to when Gina and I started getting into New Japan Wrestling and starting with, you know, the G1 and getting into it then, and how hot I remember like Shota Umino being at that point. You know, like he was sort of like that underlying babyface that had like that heroic nature about him, and you just knew, okay, you're gonna have a title soon. And it's crazy how much of a dip he's taken from that, and that's only from a few years back as well, because we haven't really been covered. We've only recently started covering New Japan on a annual basis, so it's crazy at how much like it's like he's had the biggest downfall when it comes to sort of like his character, the respect from the audience, like even the respect for himself. Like you could just really see in his eyes, like at this point during that match with Zack, I just kind of felt like he had given up. So I'm intrigued to see where things go for him after this match, and you know what decisions he's looking to like maybe try and change or make about what
he has
he
to
does
find himself.
Yeah, he really does. He's on a journey now, and I'm just wondering how long it's going to take him until we can really start to see things pick up for him. Whether or not that is in a heel manner or a face manner, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. I think 2025 is going to be very interesting in the decisions that Shota Umino takes.
Yeah, without doubt. Gina, I'll bring you into this quickly because one thing we haven't talked about, must be great for Red Shoes. You know, not only refereeing the main event Wrestle Kingdom, but your son's there. You know, it must have been a good moment, even if it was just backstage and not, like I said, celebrating with the championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still going to be a nice moment always for him to be able to share that with his family. Not a lot of wrestlers get to say that. You know, they don't get to say, oh, my dad sort of is one of the biggest referees on the show. Yeah, but I still think it's a nice moment for him. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to celebrate a win with him. But regardless, I'm sure he still felt great having him there.
Yeah, without doubt. So, scores then. Jaxie, what would you give out of 5?
4.25.
I think that was me, so it's not you. But yeah, I'm going to give this
Oh, sorry.
I kind of still enjoyed this match a lot, so I'm giving this a 4.5.
I'm guessing Gina's going to give a 4.25. So I'm going to give 4.5. Predictions. All went Zack Sabre Jr. So final scores, Jaxie Gina on 6, James and Monty on 8. So the first points of the year go to the boys. Get in there, Monty, eh? We start as we mean to go on, son.
He's a man, such a man.
But like I said, we're not done yet. So overall for Wrestle Kingdom, match of the night for me was, like I said, Finlay versus Suji. Monty, that was yours as well. Jaxie, was that fair? Yes, your match of the night?
Which match?
Finlay and Suji.
Yeah, that one is my match of the night.
And the same with you, Gina, as well. So, rating and MVP then. Gina, start us off. What's your rating out of 10 and your MVP of the night?
Rating, I will give it an 8. MVP, I'm torn. Okay, I don't want to be biased, so I'll go Suji. Suji's MVP.
Suji. Jaxie?
Is this out of 10?
Yes.
Overall, okay.
I mean, you've only been doing it 4.5 years, you know, so.
Well, we're rating these matches out of 5. Wow.
Yeah, but we rate the overall show at 10. Come on.
Okay. Jesus. I'm going to give it a 7.5 overall. And yeah, MVP is Suji.
7.5 and Suji. Monty?
Yeah, man, I gave it a 8.5. This is one of the really great show, by the way. They pulled out a great show, but again, overall, one of the toughest years I've ever had keeping up with New Japan. Just there's a lot of reasons about it. And I'm definitely going to talk about a couple of them when we talk about this next show. But yeah, man, it's been tough. But yeah, man, overall, I give it an 8.5, and my MVP is ELP for personal reasons.
Yeah. Rating for me, 8.5. MVP is Zack Sabre Jr. because he got the triple threat, the G1, the world title, and the Tokyo Dome main event. And it marks an 18-year wait for a foreigner to win in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom after the failures of Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, Jay White, Zack Sabre Jr. managed to do it. But could he go 2 nights in a row? And again, Monty, that record there is pretty fucking impressive. Even if maybe, awesome. You know.
Yeah. The circumstances may not be the great, but you can always, at the end of the day, he can always say that. People can say whatever they want, but yeah, man, that's something that, like you mentioned, you got AJ Styles in there, you got, Omega and everything Ospreay did and Jay White. So for him to be able to do that, that's special, man. It's special.
So we had some backstage comments as well, which I do love. Nagata and Barnett faced off, and they faced off 22 years previously as well. Shows you the history going on. Sanada and Taichi continued to fight. Akira was very passionate. Akan picked Jeff Cobb as his partner for Dynasty. Fujita forgot to use the microphone. I don't mind Robbie Eagles. Never thought I'd see this. Yo made me feel things I didn't know I thought, Monty. I got really confused here. If anybody doesn't know, Jackson Gene, I don't know if you saw this, but Yo is a very attractive man. That's all. And with makeup on, and to sign the contract, you had to basically put lipstick on and kiss the contract.
A lot of kisses.
Yeah.
What? How did I miss this?
Honestly, I'm not making it up either. It's fucking brilliant.
Yo was on. What shade? What shade of lipstick?
Yo had the lipstick on, and then he had like deep red, and then he had this like lipstick block that the other wrestlers, I mean, had to kiss and
I'm gonna have to go find this and watch it.
He gave Fuji the big nice smooch also.
Yeah, they got into it. Yeah, I was like, I'm into
this. This is turning into some sort of anime show. What?
Honestly, It really was, man. Like, oh yeah.
He has lost
that
it. I have no.
The next time I saw Yo afterwards, I was like, ooh, Yo. I'd calm down a little bit. Anyway, ELP found that fighting spirit. Tanahashi was happy with the fans. Shingo was not. He's ashamed. Don Callis called Takeshita the best athlete to come out of New Japan. Despy needed a drink. Suyu said he won an IWGP belt. And he's better than Gabe. Basically, he said that was his point. I'm better than Gabe. I'm going to carry New Japan on my back as well. And another confusing development, Naito and Takahashi will join the tag match at Dynasty, thanks to our hero Greater Khan, who basically was like, yeah, you can join if you want. And
yeah,
to say...
I'm so confusing. It's so last minute. I was like, but why?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Do you want the truth? Do you want the story?
I mean, like, what's the obvious thing? Like, just because they wanted him on the show?
The AEW show was not selling tickets in the Dome. It wasn't doing well. So they threw Naito and Hiromu in for name value. That's the facts of it. The storyline reason. Yeah, it's not really much of a storyline other than they want tag league.
Yeah.
Well, like we said, to say Umino took the defeat bad would be an understatement. Sending out the Tokyo Dome is a big thing as well. I'm not sure the last time they did it, but we got attendances for both nights as well. But I reckon, Monty, that Tanahashi's retirement will draw more fans in next year because it will be his last match, and that's quite a big deal.
That one is probably going to sell out. And if they do what I'm hoping they do, I don't know if they will, but I need AEW. I need somebody to get the hell out of the way just so Tanahashi or somebody can beg the bald nose guy who just went to the Hall of Fame for Shinsuke Nakamura. That's just, could he just come for one show? He don't have to wrestle. He could just show up in a suit, whatever.
Come on.
Please let him send Tanahashi out.
Didn't they let him be part of what's his name's retirement tour?
Yeah, they let him go to Noah, but that Noah is a little bit different because they're not working with AEW. I'm just hoping they leave the AEW biddiness aside and they let him go send Tanahashi off because it's meant to be.
To Hunter, if I have to.
Well, this is the thing. Why can't AEW just take a year off? Let WWE do a year. You know, bring in Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Sheamus, you know, all the matches we want to see. And then AEW can have it again in 2027 or whatever. You know,
you see how Tony's acting with Ricky Starks? I don't know, man. He's a little too petty right now. I don't know if he's gonna work.
People are petty in professional wrestling.
I mean, that's very true. Like, the same thing could be said about Ray Fenix. So, I mean, now, I don't really know. I don't really know if New Japan even have a say to ask that because it will be at the value of TK at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Forget about TK. This is good. I've just come up with this. Forget about TK. TMDK are very happy. Zach seemed very happy about his victory. Excellent. So January 5th, then Dynasty. The International Women's Cup Finals was the first match on the pre-show. Each woman represented the home promotion in the Fatal 4-Way. It was Willow versus Athena versus Momo Watanabe versus Persephone. Persephone. Is that close enough, Monty?
Yep, close enough for me. Persephone.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah, Persephone.
Yeah.
Fucking get in there. That's the one good thing about New Japan is that I am getting better at, well, not Persephone, obviously, but, you know, the other names. Anyway, from the moment the bell rang, this was an energetic and competitive contest. All four women worked hard to put on a good show. Athena and Willow's established chemistry was on full display every time they made contact. This was non-stop action from all four competitors, and all looked really strong, but only one was going to leave with the cup. And all said and done, it is Watanabe who scored the win with some help from a baseball bat behind the ref back. But Jackson, I don't know about you, I was surprised that this was on the pre-show to start the show, because I was like, fuck me, this was actually a match I was looking forward to.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked to hear that this was happening then. Um, and it wasn't happening. Like, yeah, I thought that even the match itself, like, deserved to be on the main show with, like, how well it was. I thought all four women did really great. So I just felt like this was worth more than just being placed on the pre-show.
Yeah, I did as well. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't watch a lot of Ring of Honor either. So if Tony can put like Athena's title defenses on YouTube as like a 5-hour marathon, that would be really, really helpful. One thing though, Gina, that was maybe a bit of a surprise was Athena got pinned for the first time in 2 years in this matchup.
Yeah, that was super surprising, especially because of, like, you know, how big she is at the moment. So seeing her take it was like, oh, is this foreshadowing of maybe a bit of a downfall of her starting to take on some losing streaks? Yeah, it was quite shocking. I didn't see that coming for sure.
Yeah, and at least we have 2 women's matches.
First, Stephanie was going to take it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, at least we got 2 matches on the card as well. And again, I'm not sure what was going to happen. And Monty, I'm not going to say anything about AEW talent being used to wrestle in quarter full arenas, all right? There will be no jokes like that. What did you think of the opener?
Wow. Yeah, man. I'm happy for Momo, man. The only reason why I don't think I picked Momo. The only reason why I didn't pick her is because I watched a little bit of Stardom, and it was one thing about watching Stardom, and what I know about Momo is she used to be she did not used to carry around a bat. She used to be like, I don't want to say bright and bubbly, but she was such a pure soul in the beginning of her career. That she turned heel and been beating people with bat, but ever since she turned heel, she don't really win. So I just didn't thought this was going to continue that. So I kind of thought it was cool that they let Momo win this because she usually comes up short even with the bat. So yeah, man, it was kind of cool to see her finally pick it up, even though I was again, then she, like you said, pinning Athena, like I definitely didn't expect that. But yeah, this was cool. This is a really good start, and I'm with you, James. Like this is pre-show, like really, but again, like when you're in Japan, you know, you just kind of had, like you mentioned, we got 2 of them. You can't really complain because we got at least multiple women's matches. Yeah, so you gotta take what you can get.
Don't say anything until they notice. But
right.
Again, like I said, this is still good. So scores to start us off, Jaxie.
Is this out of 5, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, I'm giving this a 4.25.
4.25. Gina?
I'll give it a 4.
Give it a 4. And Monty?
Yeah, I gave it 4 too.
Well, yeah, I gave it a 4.25. Predictions, we all went Athena, apart from Gina. Gina, what happened, man? The G-Site's back.
I am telling you now, I found a 4-leaf clover.
Yeah, well, tell you what, keep hold of it because you're 1-0 up at the moment. The Ring of Honor tag title was up next with Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes taking on Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Sho. The champs quickly found themselves being double teamed by the Hills from House of Torture. When one of them would make a comeback, Sho or Kanemaru would cheat to regain the upper hand. Guevara scored the win with a beautiful senton from the top rope. Gina, I mean, Sammy Guevara, man, I'm not saying he's fallen down the card. It's great to wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom, but fuck me, man, has he fallen down the card?
100%. When you think about the fact that this man was he mentioned to be one of the 4 pillars of AEW?
Pillar, yeah.
Like, when you look at the rest of the pillars and then you look at Sammy Guevara, they look on way different levels. And I mean, Sammy Guevara seems like he's back down at basic bitch level. You know, I really didn't care for this match. And I'm really sorry. I just didn't.
Hey, don't hold back. Tell me how you feel. No, this was point. Monty, my only hope was this is just get Dustin on the show because the last time he wrestled in the Dome, he was teaming up with his dad, Dusty, which is quite a nice thing to say.
Yeah, it's good to see him. That's like I'm kind of in the same vein. the last one. I mean, this really didn't do anything for me, but it was good to see Dustin there. And I already kind of mentioned how I feel about Guevara and just how far he's fallen from those original AEW days. But yeah, man, good for Dustin to be back, and I'm happy that they retained.
I mean, Jaxie, be fair to say this wasn't terrible. That's probably the best I can say.
I mean, the best I could say is I don't really remember much from it, apart from the fact that they won. Again, I think that I agree with pretty much all of your points. I got really offended that this was on after the women's Fatal 4-Way. I was like, why the fuck didn't this start it? Because this was a serious dip compared to like the women's match like just before. So sitting here watching it, I was just like, I just felt like I went down on the dip a little bit. I kind of like don't know really what happened with like sort of Sammy and like his run, but yeah, I didn't really. I have no feelings towards it, no negative feelings, but no positive ones either.
That's
and
worse. You nothing it.
Apathy.
That's the nicest I could be. I'm trying to be the nicest I can.
I have
by
no
saying,
feelings. That's how wrestlers die. When you say that, a wrestler
right.
like fairy.
You don't want to boo.
You
don't want to cheer. You just don't care.
Hey, listen. All I'm saying is I didn't understand why there was any need for this match to be on this card per se. So I didn't have.
I completely agree. I mean, I'm not.
On the show. This could have gone on the pre-show instead of the ladies' match.
It was the pre-show. It was the
pre-show. It's the second match of the pre-show.
It still was on after the women's match. This should have been on first. Just gotten over and done with. Because of all you did.
Been on the pre-show.
The YouTube
exclusive.
Live.
Anyway. So scores. Yeah. Gina, what would you score this?
2.5.
2.5. Monty?
A 3 for Dustin, I guess.
Pour one out for Dusty. Gina?
I just gave you my answer to it.
Oh, sorry. Jaxie, my bad. I'm not written down properly.
I'm gonna give it a 2. I'll give it a 2.
Right, there we go. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 just to be controversial. Predictions.
No,
we all went prediction. We all did predictions. And we all went Texas. So Gina is 2-1 up. The first match of the main card saw 8 talented superstars from CMLL and New Japan PW compete in a gauntlet match. I mean, this is funny because I think all of us, Monty, I don't know about you, but we were just like, why the fuck is this on the main show? And the women's match was on the pre-show. What the fuck?
On the pre-show, yeah. Oh, God.
What the fuck is this? Anyway, all the entrants in the match. I can't say that name. Henshisero. There you go, pronounced it right. Kuji Fujita, Sobrano, Master Watto, Mascara, Dorado, Ishimori, Titan, and El Desperado. And Ishimori won the match and hightailed out of there because he knew some of the other competitors would come after him. Monty, what is this? Because it was just a joint show and CMLL needed to be featured somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, that's the only thing I got for you. I don't know if AEW dropped the ball and then didn't send any lightweight or junior weights or whatever.
Where's Hologram?
Yeah. Where's Hologram? Exactly. Where the other guy? I forgot the other Commander. Yeah, or was Commander here? Yeah, Commander. I don't know. I don't think he was here. Anyway, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know if AEW just forgot to send a luchador or forgot to send a smaller guy, or they just didn't care to. I'm just like, but you said a part of me, I didn't know why I was here either. You'll be able to see that when you see what I wrote down for predictions. Because I don't think I was looking forward to this at all either. And I was actually even more frustrated when I saw people like Taiji Ishimori and Desperado come out, because I'm like, well, promote that then. Like, why not? Why are you not telling even the New Japan people who's gonna be in this match? Like, it's just stupid. It was just stupid, bad promoting, and they wonder why they barely got the dome ready. That's like exactly. So yeah, it was stupid.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, what are you talking about here? We'll just score it quickly because, again, we've talked a lot. Jaxie, what would you score it? And any thoughts?
Oh, why would you go with me first? I was really just confused throughout this match as to why it was even happening, if I'm truly honest. And to be honest, like, I felt like it was a pre-show match. I was pretty irked that this made it over the women's match, to be honest, because that would have been the way to open up New Japan, not with this. I think there was a lot of confusion with this being the opening match. So I don't really want to be like, I've already been harsh. I'm just gonna give it I'll give it a 2.5.
That's not being harsh.
2.25. No, 2.25. I'm gonna give it a 2.25. Sorry.
Gina, did you have a clue what the fuck was going on?
No, not at all. They didn't promote this match in any way, shape, or form, or promote the people who were going to be in it, like the weeks coming ahead of this pay-per-view. So I was a bit confused. Yeah, it was nice to see some familiar faces, but overall, I kind of don't remember this match, and it's not going to be something that I talk about when talking about this pay-per-view in the future, for example. I think I'll give it a 3, and I think that's being really nice.
That is nice. Monty?
I gave the match 3.5. They did good wrestling wise, but yeah, everything I said I still stand by. Very stupid promotion, and nobody had a rhyme or reason to really be there other than we just here to promote CMLL and New Japan.
Yep, that's true. That I'm going to give it a 3.25. Predictions. This is where it gets interesting, because James and Gina went for CMLL just because obviously we thought it was going to be. Monty put who cares? How arrogant is he after that prediction win, eh? Just put, I don't care. Unbelievable.
I did not care.
But Jaxie put New Japan. So we are going to give Jaxie a point there. So it means Monty and James are on 1, Gina and Jaxie on 2. See, Jaxie, don't say I don't do nice things.
Well, I kind of deserved it, though.
You didn't, because you actually put something else as well. But we're not going to go into it. I'm not going to. I'll just give you that. Anyway, Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Shibata next. This was paced very differently from the usual matches we see, but it had to, because it was only 5 fucking minutes. They started trading moves, and before you knew it, the time limit was up. Very, very interesting. I mean, Jaxie, this was just like, I don't know, exhibition maybe? Made me think, what was the point?
I mean, I was hoping you were going to go to Monty first here, because Monty, please explain this to me. I had no reason, like exactly what James just said. What was the point? Like, can you even call this a match? Like, I guess I was actually just more disappointed. Like, it looked like they were only just getting into things, and then the bell went. I was like, okay, did I miss something?
Go on, Monty. Shibata only allowed 5 minutes in New Japan.
Yes. He will never be able to. He's only allowed to wrestle about that. This is a perfect example of the strained and very weird relationship Shibata now has with New Japan. And the thing I want you guys to really understand, you're not the only one. A lot of my Western New Japan mutuals were also very confused, but it was done on purpose, you guys. According to a couple of my Eastern New Japan mutuals, it was done and promoted this way. Once again, you guys guess why it wasn't really clear that this was an exhibition going into the next show. You don't have to guess. It was because they wanted to try to sell tickets off the fact that Shibata was in a New Japan ring again. And but under the understanding that if you're a New Japan fan and you've been paying attention, you know Shibata is only allowed to wrestle exhibitions here. He's not allowed to wrestle for real. They have a very weird relationship. It's even weirder than it was in the past because we see him wrestle all the time in AEW. Now it was different when he couldn't wrestle. He wasn't really doing anything.
I don't get it. Why is he not only allowed?
Him in a match with Okada many years past, his career was probably supposed to be over. He almost died in the ring. There's no which way is about it. I can't really say anything other than that. Almost died in the New Japan ring, and they will never let him wrestle a full-fledged contact match again in Japan for the fear of him dying in the ring. Now, at first when he was still retired, that was fine. We were happy with what we were getting as New Japan fans. But when you watch him able to do what he does for AEW every now and then, you used to be like, now New Japan fans are like, well, we can't even get 10 minutes or we can't even get that. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's really even weirder now that he's returned and he says he's fine and he's willing to give AEW the right to let him wrestle. But New Japan will never do it again. So they just have a very weird, strained relationship. And I just wish they were upfront about the exhibition stipulation because at first I knew in the back of my mind but like when the way they executed the angle the night before, it gave off the vibe that everything was fine with Shibata in New Japan. But this shows you, because it ended up being an exhibition, that apparently no, they're not past their heat, and they probably will never let him wrestle a real match in Japan again. So it's just very weird. And like I said, I feel sorry for anybody who don't really know any of those details because you're probably just like, what the hell was this? They just chopped it and it's over. But yeah, he'll never be allowed to go over 5 minutes in New Japan again. And it's still very weird. And I can't even give you a better explanation than that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fucking New Japan. So out of 5 non-applicable predictions, we all mentioned about us. So it means Gina Jackson on 2, James and Monty on 1. Up next, Mina Shirawa versus Mercedes Moné, and the New Japan Strong and Red Pro Women's titles were on the line. Mercedes tried to big time Mina a little bit after their first lockup, but the Stardom talent quickly showed her that she's just as fast and just as talented. They were throwing stiff strikes to try to suplex and slam each other as hard as possible, and there was no clear advantage for either competitor, so it never felt like either was dominating the match for too long. After a great fight from both women, Moné pinned Shiragawa to win her 3rd championship. She now holds the TBS, New Japan Strong Women's and Red Pro British Women's Championship. Gina, what was your thought on this? Because we complained about the women's matches, and Moné again was given a time and delivered.
Yeah, 100%. I was happy with the time that they got allowed, and to be honest, I feel like it showcased like Mina a lot more than like maybe her previous match with Mariah. Not to say it wasn't a great match, but I feel like, I don't know, the match she gave with Mercedes just showed like more of her tough side. I don't know. That's how I've seen it anyway. But regardless, like I thought the match was so good, and I think I backed Mina because I kind of more saw her going to the next main event, whatever it was called, to defend the belt. So yeah, I would definitely say like the outcome shocked me, but I also think that they both did well enough in that match to have warranted a win either way. So it was still great.
Yeah, without doubt. And Monty, as we mentioned earlier as well, I don't know if it's with Moné or whatever it is, but she just feels a bigger deal in New Japan, and I don't know why.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I don't know if it's just because it's even more of a presentation contract. Like she looks like no one else. She's presented like, even when the Stardom ladies are part of the show, she's presented like no one else. So maybe that make her stand out a little bit more. But she also just right now has an extra pep in her step, man. And now she's kind of on this belt collector type of gimmick. She's really in her element, and now you can tell she's really enjoying it. Everything, and I thought this was really good. Once again, could I see them doing more or better? Yeah, but I think again, like I said, given what we're used to, and just the fact that this was the second women's match on this card, you can't help but just be appreciative of what we got. And Also, again, this is kind of like a lot of the logic. Seeing her in New Japan is the logic behind why when it was time and she chose AEW over going back to WWE, that whole kind of like worldwide takeover revolution. Like now that she has the Rare Pro belt, meaning she'll be wrestling in the UK at some point, or already probably have started in a sense. That just shows you more of that overall vision of what she thought the next step in her career should have been, which is being a champion in America, being a champion in Japan, and now being a champion in the UK. Man, I think it's really, really cool that she's able to do all of these things, and that she's where she's placed herself at is really awesome for her. And Mina, like you guys mentioned, showcased herself well too.
Yeah, without a doubt. As we were talking about Jaxie, as we've mentioned, this was just a good matchup, So, have you got any thoughts, and what's your score to start us off?
I don't really have any more thoughts because I think I said a lot about sort of Mercedes and what she's currently doing within the previous match, and that kind of goes back to, again, like with every opponent she's faced in the ring, it's just felt like, a really high caliber level of match, and Mina has just kind of been quite a force to be reckoned with within AEW itself. So to see her against someone like Mercedes, it was just a great match between the two to showcase really what both women can do. Again, though, really enjoyed this match. This was one of my favorites, I think. So I gave this a 4.5.
4.5. Gina, what would you score it?
Yeah, I'll give them a 4.5 as well.
Monty?
Yeah, I give it 4.25.
Well, I'm going to give it a 4.5. Predictions. Well, Gina went Mina, and the rest went Monet. So Jaxie's on 3, and the rest on 2. As we've got David Finlay versus Brody King next. And King used his size and power to be dominant force in the ring. But Finlay never once showed fear or hesitation. He took the fight to the big man, occasionally had him reeling a bit. And even though this was 90% King in control, they did the way that made Finlay look resilient. He never backed down, never stayed down. After surviving what amounted to a mauling from a bear, Finlay managed to get the victory. Monty, what were your thoughts on this? Because I thought Brody would dwarf Finn, but Finn's actually got size in him as well.
Yeah, man, he's a big guy, and he's only getting in better shape as gotten in better shape as the years have kind of went by. So, yeah, man, it was kind of cool to kind of look at that contrast and look at a guy in Finlay who has always, because of his ties to being David, being Finlay's son. It's kind of cool that a guy like him is able to mix it up with guys, because he's been in New Japan a long time. So it's kind of cool to see him whenever he gets a chance to mix it up with different guys from AEW, and big guy like Brody King, and someone who we know always brings out some of his best. And again, I thought this match is another example of why I just think that even though he's unheralded and not kind of given the props I think he deserves, Dave Finlay has been a shining star for New Japan. It's the reason why when his contract came up in January, there's a lot of murmurs about the fact that America could be calling, or especially WWE, because they've kind of been interested in him in a long time. So we'll see what happens. But Dave Finlay, another great showcase, and two really good Tokyo Dome matches, and that really improves your stock in Japan.
Yeah, without a doubt. And speaking of looking good in Japan as well, Jaxie, Brody King. Again, we talk about Monet, but he just looks like a different kind of monster in New Japan. I don't know if it's like with Lance Archer, what it is, but he just fits the style.
Yeah, he really does. And he's just, his overall size and build just really helps sort of lend well to sort of the persona and the character and the wrestler that he is. This match was really great. And I think, as you said, I was actually thinking that, Finlay would be quite at a disadvantage in this match. But he held himself really well against the likes of Brody King. But I only see, good things in Brody's future. He's been doing so well, like we've kind of previously discussed with his, current runs within the Continental Classic. But just to then showcase, what he can do in a New Japan Dome, it's just been incredible to see. Overall, I feel like there was a disappointment in this match in terms of the outcome, just because I'm a huge Brody King fan. But I think, with what Monty just said, with contract being up and, discussion on where he might go or if he'll stay, I've all of a sudden got this dream match in my head of seeing Finlay versus Gunther, and I wonder whether or not that is possibly in our future. So that would be quite exciting to think about.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like I said, with the matchup, I mean, the predictions, Gina, maybe didn't go your way, but I think in my thinking was like, I don't know if Finn can lose 2 nights in a row. I think that was the only reason. And again, Brody looked like a monster, so he didn't really lose anything in defeat.
Yeah, for me, I kind of more had the opposite thought and thought, if he loses the first night, what if they make him go on a double losing night and he just lose it? So it was more kind of a pipe dream, I guess, in terms of that prediction. But I still stand by it. So.
Oh, no.
Brody,
we do.
Boss.
Yeah. So out of 5 then, Monty, what would you score it?
I gave it a 4 1/4. Really good stuff.
Quarter, Jaxie?
I too gave it a 4 1/4.
And Gina?
4.5.
I'm going to give it a 4 1/4. Predictions, girls went Brody, boys went Finn. So Gina on 2 and the rest are on 3. As we got Shooter Umino versus Claudio Castagnoli. And the Swiss Superman attacked Umino during his entrance to get an unfair advantage. In the first few minutes of this bout was nothing but Claudio whooping Shooter like he owed him money. Once Umino was able to gain his composure, this turned into a more even exchange. And he wanted to prove his old mentor he could take out his right-hand man. So he was using a lot of high-impact moves like a draping DDT on the floor. Umino survived with a cola bomb and defeated Claudio with Moxley's Death Rider DDT. Jaxie, what are your thoughts on this? Because this was a little bit similar to the match before where one guy dominated only to lose.
Yeah, that is, I did kind of make a note of that and just said, oh, this kind of like just reminds me of just what happened in the match before. Like you've got someone else dominating and then all of a sudden the win, the unexpected win. So I think this is kind of this was my mentality as well. I think a lot what my sister said about David Finlay was like sort of like the mentality I was having with Shota is that he'd continue that losing streak until he finally snaps, So I was a little bit shocked to see the outcome here, especially with how dominant, Claudio actually was. And I got to say, I'm a little bit disappointed at seeing him pick up a loss here as well. I wasn't expecting that considering how dominant they've made him on AEW at this point. So to lose to someone who's been on a continuous losing streak like Shota, I wonder where they were going with that. Like it is, I don't know if it really is amounts to anything, but to me, I was a bit shocked. I didn't see that coming.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? And again, I mean, Gina, we talked about Shooter's performance in the main event coming up short, but the end game is obviously Umino versus Moxley. But at the moment, there's no way Umino could win. So is this the long game? And maybe a few months down the line, can we see it happening?
I think it's quite dependent on the reception from the fans, to be honest, because again, I think Jax mentioned this about the previous New Japan event. Like, it kind of feels like people are a bit over him or just not as behind him as they would like for fans to be. So I think it's kind of dependent on how receptive fans are to him in the next few weeks. That's how I see it.
Yeah, without a doubt. Monty, what were your thoughts on this? And start us off with a score as well.
Why was this match here up? That I think that's kind of my overall theme for a lot of these matches. This card felt plastered together. Besides maybe the Mercedes match, the next 2 matches or so, and then and then of course the Omega match, and so everything else to me, even the main event of this show, felt put here just to make the card as good as best as you can. And this match falls under that to me, even though I do understand kind of the logic behind the match when it comes from a storyline purpose. But I think you hit it on the nail earlier, James. It's just like my problem with this match is that I don't think this is the time. I think Shelton has a lot of work to do before they need to lean into anything doing with Moxley, because at the moment he just feels so far away from it. Honestly, I almost want him to take up Moxley on the offer, but like even Moxley's gimmick right now is not necessarily something that I would wish on anybody, to be honest. So I don't know if that's what he needs to do, but he just, it's just, I don't know. Again, I thought the match was good. Don't get me wrong. I thought, of course, Claudio was incredible, but it was kind of predictable in the sense as the match went on, and Schultz was probably going to get his win back. And, so again, I thought it was okay. But a lot of this card and this match was one of those matches for me where I was like, okay, this is good, but I don't necessarily need to see this, because I just don't think Schultz is in the right spot right now to even be thinking about what the Death Riders got going on.
Yeah, what would you score it? Sorry.
3 3/4.
3 3/4. Jaxie?
I'll give this a 3.
Regina?
Yeah, I also give it a 3.
3, yeah. For me, this again wasn't a bad match, but like you said, Monty, it just felt like, why is this here at this moment in time? But still not a bad matchup. I'm gonna give it a 4. Predictions: you all went Claudio, apart from me, so it means that I take the lead on 4. Jaxie, Monty on 3, Gina on 2. We've got Takeshita versus Tomohiro Ishii next. The Stone Pitbull is usually the most intimidating man in the ring, but Big Take did not show a single sign of being scared. These two guys are known for being hard hitters, so they were throwing bombs left and right to try and take each other down, whilst suplexing and throwing each other as well. They beat the piss out of each other. Takeshita picked up the win with a Michinoku driver after a hard-fought exchange. Gina, what were your thoughts on this?
I think with this match, I'm trying to remember, but I think with this match, I think I had similar views as the previous match with Takeshita. I do feel biased. I feel like my eyes were solely on him. I do think that he is being pushed in the right direction and that his character is really working well. I also see how well he works with others as well. So yeah, for me, I really enjoyed this match. And I think I gave it a 4 1/4.
4 1/4. Yeah, it surprised me. I saw Bryce Rinsberg and I was like, fucking hell, Bryce is the referee. Monty, I don't know about you, but either Ishii and Shingo are selling the elbows of Takeshita well, or they hurt like fuck.
Do you want to try? You want to try one?
I don't want an elbow or a fucking forearm. I'm just saying.
No, they definitely hurt, or like you mentioned, or those guys definitely sell it well. But yeah, man, it's like I mentioned in the Shingo match. This is Ishii's style. They're kind of giving an homage to what Ishii's all about, with this strong style and the stiff strikes and just all that stuff that Ishii's become known to be about. So Takeshita is a perfect guy to be in this spot and to be in these matches. And I feel like what I'm really just excited about is that the president, the owner, basically the people who are helping make decisions in New Japan say that that Takeshita is signed to New Japan now, so you might be able to get more of these opportunities. He's not just exclusive to AEW. So, I think that's pretty cool. And he's just excellent. And why wouldn't you? I think we all should be asking for more Takeshita on our screen.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, to be fair to Ishii, we did see a Franken Ishii, which again for me is always a bit of a surprise. Because I always just think like chops and slaps, but the fucker can wrestle. And again, it is.
It used to be a junior heavyweight, dude. It used to be a junior heavyweight. So that's what that is.
Yeah. And Jaxie, how impressive it is Takeshita to go to Japan and not only kind of, he goes to, Wrestle Kingdom, wins the match, and he wins at Dynasty. But to win against Shingo and Ishii is just like walking through the fucking fire. Surviving is big enough, let alone winning.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I think that this really did once again show how much standing Takeshita currently has, and rightly so, with like the sort of caliber of matches he is able to put on at this moment in time. Like he's forever entertaining, and to, you know, go one-on-one with Ishii, like that match, you know, like you said, they beat the shit out of each other, and it was just so well done and well put together. They both worked well together, and Takeshita just looked like an absolute beast. So this match was a really good match and showcased each other well.
Yeah. What would you score it?
I'll give this a 4.25.
4.25. And Monty?
4.5.
Yeah, I'm going to give this a 4.5. Predictions, we went to Takeshita. So I'm on 5. Jackson Monty on 4. Gina on 3. Vacant tag titles next. United Empire versus Young Bucks versus Los Ingobernables. The Bucks sat back and watched as the other two teams started fighting, but once everyone noticed, they went after Nick and Matt on the apron. With 6 men involved, very little attention being paid to tags, who was legal. This bout was non-stop mayhem. Trying to recap all the action would be pointless because there was so much going on. Everyone was fighting. Everyone felt like one team never had the upper hand for too long. And the Bucks ended up winning to become the new IWGP Tag Team Champions for the second time. Monty, AEW wins yet again.
Yeah, I think when I picked against the Bucks, I was just really in denial about it. Like I knew that the likelihood of them losing was gonna be low, but I was just like, you know, screw it. I'm gonna bet on my guys because I'm just sick of our belts being basically non-existent. But to be fair, I did mention that the tag division in New Japan was kind of lacking overall. But you know what I'm saying, James. To go from TMDK to where we are now, as much as I like and respect the Bucks, I mean, you know, it'd be nice if we could get something different. You know what I mean? That's just kind of what I'll say about that. But the match itself was good. You know, it's always cool to see the Bucks back. I don't know how another reason why I want to give, because you never really know how much you're gonna get of it now at this stage of their careers. Like, are they really back to? Should I even think about the way things used to be with the Bucks? Even with Kenny to an extent, but mostly the Bucks because they're not on AEW television right now. Or is this just, you know, let's give, you know, like you mentioned, AEW always wins. It's another one of those things. So it's tough, man. It was tough, but it was good stuff from everybody. It was a good tag team wrestling. And I don't know, they'll probably lose to Naito or maybe United Empire at Forbidden Door. We'll just start it over again for the umpteenth time.
Well, this is the thing, and Jaxie, I've noticed something, and again, we used to complain with WWE about kind of bringing back old legends to fill roles, especially around kind of like WrestleMania time. Is that what, I mean, Kenny Omega will reserve judgment, but like the Bucks coming back, you know, to just be like, oh, give us the tag titles again. It does feel a bit like that, doesn't it? You know, as opposed to, oh, we just go to Japan and win the tag titles, and it's like, but should they be doing other things? Should they just be leaving it alone? Or is this what's best for business?
Again, I feel like this for me came across like this is like a safe bet at the moment. You know, they went with like the safer choice, and that's not to, you know, put anything past the Young Bucks, but right now, like you said, is that we're at a confusing time with like the status of the Young Bucks, and like, are they back full time? Are they part time? Like, are they going into any sort of like long standing feud or being built into a story, or, you know, is that this just them being sort of like, you know, like an intermission like sort of title holder until they can like truly think of a strategy or something, you know? There's just a lot of questions behind like the choice on this because we haven't seen much from the Young Bucks, but I think that's precisely why I went with them, because they were that safer option, you know, and so that's what I truly believe, that maybe that was the decision going into this match.
And I don't know about you, Gina. I don't know if you were staring at a Greater Khan's kind of business area, but I was during the majority of the match. I was thinking, my God, he's got a lot of sponsors. Like, Greater Khan is sponsored. He must be the most sponsored wrestler that I know, and I just wonder maybe if he should break out from where he is and start himself,
Yeah, I mean, maybe he should just go into, advertisement, because he'd probably be one of the highest paid advertisers ever. But I will admit, I've been drawn to that area in a few different matches for the Great Okan for numerous reasons. He just draws that sort of attention to himself.
You just can't help it, can you? Yeah, you want to see his iron claw, like, it just, you just want to work it out. Anyway, the Bucks come up to the old theme, so I'm sure some people were happy. But a bit like the pod, I think the show itself as well, we're just going like, come on, let's move on with it. So scores out of 5, Len. We'll start with Monty. What would you give it?
4.
Give it a 4. Jaxie?
Same 4.
Or Gina?
I'll also go 4.
I'll give it a 4.25. It's fun enough stuff. Predictions, you went Bucks. Apart from Monty, that means I'm on 6. Jaxie's on 5. Gina and Monty are on 4. Jack Perry showed up in full scapegoat gear. And I was like, what the fuck is he doing here? And then I realised he's got a match with Yota Tsuji. And I'm like, fuck's sake, forgot about that one. Global Heavyweight Championship. Jack got the upper hand early. It was surprisingly one-sided match for the first several minutes. Tsuji started to gain some momentum. Him and Perry began trading blows in the middle of the ring. A few moments later, we cut Perry in half with a Gene Blaster to get the pin and the win. And Jackson, I wasn't being facetious. Like, I literally forgot about this match when I was watching it. I'm going, oh, fucking hell. Where was this?
Do you know what? I kind of liked it too. But yeah, I'm trying to actually think back to like sort of some of the standout moments. I think one of the most standout moments really was kind of like why Jack Perry was coming back with this sort of scapegoat thing, because I thought he was going to be done with that. But it seems like he's not over that gimmick yet. And I just wondered whether or not he's going to be sticking with that for a while longer, especially within New Japan. So we'll have to see with that. But yeah, overall, this was an okay match. I think this did well to re-showcase like sort of Tsuji and the new champion he was, and I think that was where the main focus was, to be honest.
Yeah, not a lot going on really, was there, in this one? Gina, anything that impressed you in this one?
I mean, not really. I'm not saying this as if to be mean, but again, where this weekend with the double match card was just so much, there's nothing that really kind of stood out to me in this match, apart from just, the star quality of both men, regardless. I think they put on a great match, but I wasn't really invested because there wasn't a massive story built behind this feud. So it was a good match, but just not a lot of like viewpoints to be passed on it.
Yeah, that down. And Monty, I think the most impressive thing in this matchup was Yota Tsuji catching the ice bag from behind after Jack Perry threw it at him after the end of the match. And if you got that's fucking so cool. I was like, that's cool, man.
I was so just bored out of my mind. I probably missed it. It was fine. I'm not gonna act like they didn't do well. I just think Tsuji did what he could, but it's just not trying to blame it all on Jack, but it's like I think we've all said a version of this when it comes to our individual investment, and it's hard, man. Nobody in their right mind thought Jack Perry was gonna beat Tsuji right now. It wasn't gonna happen. Maybe if Finlay would have won and you say Finlay because he's champion, you could even entertain it. But even then, that wouldn't have. I don't think that was an outcome anybody would have wanted. So, yeah, man, it was what it was. I give Tsuji his props for going 2 nights, and Jack did, like I said, give effort, but like you guys mentioned, it wasn't really that memorable. It wasn't that good. It was just a match with two guys who, if you probably put a veteran or somebody more interesting in that match, you get better out of both guys. So, yeah, man, it's kind of funny when you see Tsuji at his best one night, and then you see this, and he's trying his best, but I don't think they had much to work with, guys.
Yeah, what would you score it?
3 3/4.
3 3/4. Gina?
3.5.
And Jaxie?
Yeah, 3.5.
Don't worry, guys. We're nearly there, and it's going to get a lot better now. Predictions, we went Tsuji. I'm on 7. Jaxie on 6. Monty Gina on 5. Up next, Kenny Omega versus Gabe Kidd. They battled all round the ring, and Omega ended up powerbombing Kidd through a table on the other side of the barricade. Officials tried to signal for help, but the cleaner dragged the bloody Gabe back to the ring. A few moments later, Omega hit a dive that took out several people at ringside, in addition to his opponent. And once Omega's dive took out the ref, the rules were thrown out the window. So they used every weapon they could to find and inflict damage. They both survived several pinfall attempts before it finally ended with Omega hitting a one-winged angel for the win. I will have to say that I'm not doing it credit with that review. This was, I mean, Gina, this was just everything, wasn't it? You know, that we want in a fight.
100%. Again, when I very first started to watch New Japan and the G1, I would never have put Gabe Kidd putting on an amazing match with Kenny Omega. Not because I doubt him, but because I didn't really know him that well. But if you do, and we won't do this match justice, it is definitely the match to go and watch on this pay-per-view event. It was just so good, and I was so impressed by Gabe Kidd and also impressed by Kenny, because again, we have to remember he's come back from this injury and he's moving like he hasn't been off. It was such a great match.
Yeah, without a doubt, really, really good stuff. Monty, again, you know, we mentioned it earlier, Kenny Omega in New Japan is just a different beast. But as Gina said, Gabe stood up tonight, you know, and showed that, yeah, he's a guy that can lead New Japan for years to come.
Yeah, I think I've never watched a person, and I think, honestly, one of the biggest compliments you can give somebody, and the reason why I think Kenny Omega is a lot of what he say he is that, you know, not only are you that guy, but can you elevate others, and can you bring someone to your level? And I think this is a perfect example of that. But I don't think Gabe got carried at all. His passion, the gear that was an ode to like the dojo that he was trained in, and the way he kind of took up for the young lions, just everything he did, the New Japan pride. I think that's a lot of people. It's people online who get mad at Gabe Kidd because he's very critical of Tony Khan. Like, he's mentioned in the past that Tanahashi as president seemed like he walks up to Tony Khan on his knees and just offers him basically a bunch of ass kissing. And he's one of those guys that kind of speaks with a lot of new people who are diehard New Japan fans. That's really what they feel about the AEW partnership. And I think the fact that he was fighting a guy like Kenny, who, yes, we love Kenny and everybody appreciate what Kenny's done, but Kenny is also a poster child. He is, to New Japan fans, he is a part of why their company is seemingly dying. And I know that sounds dramatic, but I'm just telling you what a lot of New Japan fans feel. AEW has been a part of them losing where they were, and losing people like a Kenny Omega, losing the talent that we know has left to kind of follow in Kenny Omega's footsteps to go to AEW. You know, Gabe Kidd kind of represented a rebel who's kind of fighting against that. Who knows where he could be in the future? He definitely could be another guy who could leave in the future and make big money anywhere else, because I think he can talk and he definitely has the attitude. But he's a guy who just exudes pride that he comes from the LA dojo. We know what he went through in the pandemic, and a lot of that was in this match. And I think they also told that type of story in the way they put this match together. And, you know, Kenny is just like you mentioned, coming back from the illness and everything we know he's been through. This is just one of those times where it was cool to see a bunch of people who may have forgotten just how damn good and special Kenny Omega is. So, Yeah, man. Like you said, you can't do this justice, man. It was really good for all those reasons that everybody's talked about and what I just said. But I just suggest that if it's anything from this show, anything from this weekend, besides maybe going to go check out Suji and Finley, this is it. This is it, man. It's just a damn shame that the circumstances around the show for me is so negative that I had so much negative emotions just about the show. But this definitely made me forget about it for a good 35 minutes.
Without a doubt. And like you said, the overall presentation, everything, nice entrances, made a new theme. Gabe's attire was a tribute to Alex Coughlin, who obviously retired. And again, Jaxie, what's interesting is that Kenny was booed. When you think about it, he was booed by New Japan.
So, by the way.
Well, this is what I say. You say that, but Monty, but much like ECW back in the day, when you used to get like "you sold out" chants, whether it is, if a wrestler wants to go and make money or try something, doesn't mean they sold out. It just means they went somewhere else for more money. It's Kenny's fault for come back. But again, I mean, it's interesting. And Jackson said that reaction for Gabe as well.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that he's come back to face opponents before and probably not from what I've noticed, gotten the same level of heat
not at all.
And this time around.
Right.
Is that right?
He's a madman.
No, right. Not right. Not at all. He's not gotten it. But I also think the state of the company was different in those returns. And also he came back and he also spoke as if he was saving them, but a lot of people blame him and people like him for killing it. So it's like, we don't want you to save New Japan. You're the reason why we the situation we're in. Even though you're right, James, they got a right to leave and do what they got to do. And it's not just their fault that New Japan is what it is, but people in Japan, especially, when they think of AEW, they think Kenny Omega. And Kenny Omega is the face of New Japan, of AEW over there. So they're going to feel how they feel.
Mm. I mean, I have the same thoughts my sister and Monty do in terms of saying that this match, listening to us ramble on about it, doesn't do it justice. It's a great match, but it does, it just goes to show you how politics can sometimes get in the way of, certain spectacles. And by that, I mean just, sort of like the stifling relationships between different promotions actually causing more of an impact on the audience and how receptive they are to those wrestlers sort of coming in from different promotions. It just kind of goes to show you that your actions as an executive within those promotions actually will reflect either positively or negatively on the audience, so this is a perfect example of that. But overall, the match itself was just amazing. Both wrestlers looked great in this match. I have high hopes for Gabe Kidd going into 2025 for sure.
Yeah, without doubt. Seeing the unprotected chair shots was a bit surprised, and Wilbur Schneider would be proud. Let's not forget he created the abdominal stretch nearly 100 years ago, and it's still being moved in major matches in 2025. Out of 5, Len, pretty easy. Jaxie, I'll start with you. What would you give out of 5?
5.
Monty?
4.9%, 5.
Gina?
5.
5. Yeah, a 5 from me. Predictions, we went Kenny. So James on 8, Jackson on 7, Monty Gina on 6. And the main event of Wrestle Dynasty featured Zack Sabre Jr. putting his IWGP World title on the line against Ricochet. Of course, this was Sabre's second match. But he looked fresh as a daisy during his entrance. Ricochet decided to attack him as he was getting into the ring to give himself an advantage. He even got a close 2 count after springboard 450 before Sabre even had a chance to take off the jacket. As soon as he backed his feet, Sabre made it an even fight, began training some of their best shots. Ricochet pulled out every high-flying trick in his arsenal, and Zack tied him up in a pretzel at every opportunity. They complemented each other's style perfectly, so both men looked like they might win at any point. But it was Zack who retained his title via submission to make history. Monty, what are your thoughts on this?
It was really good, man. It was a really good match. I think this is one of those matches where I kind of had to turn off my brain as somebody who, just know the product and did not even want to think 5 seconds about Ricochet winning that belt. But at the same time, it's just like I knew that this was going to be a great showcase of what these guys could do. I knew what Ricochet was all about. It was cool to see him in this setting. It's been a long time. I know he probably enjoyed being back in Japan. And, I thought it was a really good title defense. It was just, but I kind of got the same problem. This one was nowhere near as long. So I thought this was really probably more enjoyable maybe than the shoulder match just for that point alone. But it did also have the same issue of I didn't for 1 second think Ricochet was going to end that reign. And for that to be the way your show ends and the last show for a supposedly big event, I was one of those, it's unfortunate, I think, for these guys to be as good as they are. And then you have to, not only do you have to follow a classic New Japan match moment, I just thought that these guys are way too good for me to be hoping or waiting for this match to be over. And that's on me. But yeah, so I thought it was good. Don't get me wrong, I gave it like 4.25. I think would be my overall rate, or 4.5. But yeah, man, it was just one of those situations where I was like really good, but my investment level in it wasn't that high for a main event.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's true, isn't it? I mean, Jaxie, we mentioned this with the amount of matches that were over this kind of 2-day period. But at this point, I think we're all kind of glad that it's coming to an end. But Ricochet did step up and showed that, yeah, there is, talent there. It's just getting out on a more consistent basis, I guess.
Yeah. Again, I have I agree a lot with the points Monty made about this match. And also with regards to sort of like the similarities of how I felt with Fuji and Jack Perry's match, and not truly believing that there could be a title change at this point. But I do think that the match held up well. It was pretty entertaining, and I don't think it went necessarily long. But I just think the overall promotion felt longer than it needed to be.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, I've not mentioned this all show, but Gina, Zach has just won both main events at Wrestle Kingdom. You could have had that, man. We could have been there, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite wounding when you think of it like that. Thanks for reminding me, James.
I've been telling you 2 years now, haven't I? We had the chance. Oh, God. But, yeah, it weren't bad overall, was it? So, Jackson, what was your score for this match?
Sorry?
What's your score for this matchup?
For Zach versus Ricochet, yeah. Sorry. I'm gonna give it a 4. I'll give it a 4.25.
4.25. And Gina, what's your score and any thoughts?
I'll give it a 4.5. And no, not really. I think you all voiced enough thoughts on the match. I think Ricochet looked good, and I think him and Will worked well together, and I think they put on quite an entertaining match.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to give that 4.5 as well. Predictions: all Zack Sabre Jr. So final scores: Gina Monty on 7, Jaxie on 8, I'm on 9. Yes, guys, I win both, baby. Woohoo!
Congrats.
Do the second show.
Oh,
the second show even count?
Oh,
I mean, it wasn't even a show for you.
Wow. Monty Green.
Not for me. I was too busy.
I'm just saying.
I was too busy being annoyed that it existed. So did not care about predictions of this show at all. But hey, go ahead.
That's fine. Bring on the fucking Rumble. That's what I say. Bring on the Rumble. Come on. I'm gonna go undefeated this year. That's what we want. That's not a big asking.
You still gotta predict AEW, dude. Relax.
To be fair. So match of the night, I think it'd be fair to say Kenny Omega versus Gabe Kidd. So Gina, I'll start with you. What's your rating out of 10 and MVP of the night?
I'll give this a 7.5. MVP. Sorry, this is difficult. I don't know who my MVP is. Well, because the Kenny and Gabe Kid match is my match of the night, I think I'll give MVP to Takeshita.
Cool, Takeshita. Monty, what's your rating and MVP?
Just want to say, the president of Bushiroad, Kadani, thought this show was going to book 40,000 people, and I just want him to understand that the people, you weren't going to get 40,000 people for this show at all. No, I'm sorry. You didn't have a chance. They only got like 16,000. It didn't work, brother. Anyway, my overall for this show is obviously not high. I want to give a credit to everybody on the show. Y'all, this has nothing to do with the wrestlers. Y'all did great. This 7 is not even about the wrestlers. 7 was my overall enjoyment for this show because this could have been a nice New Year's dash to kick off my New Japan year. But nope, I had to act like I cared about half of this card that y'all really felt like y'all threw together just like Tony Khan loves to do out of nowhere because most of the matches had less to no build. And then the only thing that's bailing this show out is the fact that Kenny Omega, not only was the fact that he was even having a match, that's what sold the 15,000 plus tickets. That and Mercedes, most likely. Mm-hmm. Other than that, what the hell do I care about this show? Like, honestly, I'm being as honest as I could possibly be. This partnership has not only became just a way for AEW to farm talent, it has eroded how much I actually care about watching stuff. I used to be on time year round with New Japan. Now I could care less for the most part. I haven't watched a Road 2 show in like 3 months, James. I'm sick of it.
Oh my God.
I'm sick of it.
Why am I watching every fucking one then?
I don't know, man. I'm glad you are.
You're breaking our Monty. You're breaking him.
Yeah, good job, James. You can update me. But I don't care. I really could care less.
I've wasted my time.
My favorite wrestler is probably needs to retire. The other favorites should retire. I don't got nothing else to really lean on.
You sound positive.
I am not optimistic for this year at all. There you go. So my MVP, who cares, honestly? But Gabe Kid, I wish you the best. That's what I got for you. And I'm only staying around. The only reason why I'm sticking around is because I want to believe in the young talent, and I'm gonna watch for them. Other than that, I'm really thinking about unsubscribing. So you better pick your shit up, Kadani. Get it together, CEO, because right now it's over. Now he said it. He said it himself. They probably gonna do another AEW joint show later in the year because he knows they can't sell out that damn dome. So I suggest if you're gonna try this again next year, please AEW put some effort into helping marketing New Japan, or maybe send some of your actual big name talent and not just do a video package out of nowhere every now and then and all that. Please help them out. New Japan is struggling. I don't know if you guys know this, but New Japan World subscription for the first time ever went down this year for Wrestle Kingdom. They went down. That's it.
Well,
shit. If Monty's opting out, then I'm gonna have to as well because he's like the sensei. So just what he said.
I was literally thinking the same thing. Like fix up, because if you lose Monty, that means you're losing me too. Because otherwise, I won't be able to keep up.
I'm not going to be any fucker watching this. So
no, if they don't buck up.
They don't buck up. And so anyway, I mean, Jaxie, I've never heard Monty like that. It's quite intimidating, isn't it? No.
Oh, there, yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, a bit like Yo all over again. Anyway, what is your rating and MVP of the night? Out of 10.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this the same as Wrestle Kingdom. I'll give it a 7.5. I think I'm being really nice with that, to be honest. But MVP, I'm gonna give it to Mercedes. I feel like Mercedes is the only one who really worked in this, apart from like the Kenny match. But yeah, that match was just as enjoyable. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to Mercedes and her accomplishments.
No, I agree. Like I said, Monet did great, but gave him MVP and an 8 for me. I didn't hate the show as much as maybe others, but again, it did feel a bit pointless at times, especially when you had such a long show the day before. Like you said, Monty, if it was like a dash where we weren't sure what was going on and it was like 2.5 hours, it would have been fine. But it kind of bordered on, yeah, come on, let's finish now. Anyway, a couple of stories coming out of it. Chris Charlton is on suspension from New Japan because of comments he made during the match, and Tony Schiavone was on the sabbatical, whatever it was, because of a tweet he said. What's going on here? Why are they Corey Graves in it for, Monty?
The weird thing about this is, like I mentioned, I'm hoping this was an angle. I mean, was he harsh in AEW during the Omega match? Yeah, but did it take a couple
of times? Yeah,
but did it take away from the match for you guys? Like, I didn't think he was out of line necessarily. I thought he was kind of playing up a character. But to be fair to New Japan, they don't. It's not like they have heel commentators or whatever. They don't really do that. They just kind of comment on the action, unless the wrestlers are out doing commentary. They don't really have heel or face regular commentators. So I guess it was kind of out of character from that perspective. Plus, Chris is respected. He's usually really positive. So it was really weird. And I just hope that it wasn't like what people on the forums claimed, that that Tony was really pissed about being kind of slandered in the middle of a show, and that he kind of put a call in. I don't know how true that is. I hope that New Japan is not to that extent to where they're not even their own company anymore. If Tony is mad about something, now they're punishing people. Again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, because I get it. Maybe he did step out of line, and I'm not saying Tony shouldn't be mad. I'm just saying that I was hoping that something was coming from this, but as you see now, James, so far, it just seemed like, nope, he stepped out of line and they disciplining him for it. And same thing with Schiavone. So it was weird, man. It was really weird. And the fact that Schiavone even had to kind of reply to it, Schiavone, that's out of character for Schiavone. So again, I was hoping this was an angle, but it don't seem like this is going anywhere other than that. And it's just, again, even Charlton, though, a lot of the stuff he was saying is the stuff that if you look on New Japan fan sites and boards, that's the stuff that they are saying about AEW. So that's why I didn't really necessarily think it was out of line. I thought he was speaking from a New Japan fan's perspective. So maybe but again, he stepped out of line from AEW's perspective when he had to be disciplined. But it was very weird, though.
Yeah, and we mentioned attendance, like I said, 16,000 for the second night. I think the first night I'm not sure how the first night got, but it wasn't sold out anyway, was it? But it did get more than, like I said, Dynasty. And then finally, backstage comments. Willow was upset. Athena was not happy. Tanahashi was very emotional, talking about sacrifice. Shibata wants a single match and a tag. You ain't getting that, mate. Mina made her dream come true, being at the Dome. Monet's dreams are just getting started. Claudio said he might have lost, but he taught him a lesson, and that's enough. No, it wasn't. The whole point was to be... Oh, well. Takesh just said...
You don't know why he was there.
What the fucking hell, man? Takesh just said it's tough, but he's last man standing. How can he sign for New Japan, Monty? You mentioned it earlier. How can Takesh sign contracts for 8 different wrestling companies? What is it? Is it? Yeah, I just don't... I don't know. Is it till he drops a title or?
No, according to Kadani, who also in that same press conference where he was complaining about attendance, said that he signed Takeshi to an exclusive. I don't know how it's exclusive. He's still in AEW, but he's signed to a 1 year exclusive New Japan deal. So he's gonna be able to wrestle for New Japan at least for a year. I don't know how the hell that happened. I mean, shout out to Takeshi's agent. I hope he's getting paid double. Because if he's gonna be
paid triple now,
triple, because he's still exactly. So it's insane. I don't know, but good for Takeshi to maybe. I hope he don't get hurt doing all that work wrestling.
Well, he challenged Kushida, but I'll say more of that in a second. We'll put that on the next New Japan update because we've done enough tonight nearly. Also, Olo wants some. Cobb is pissed. He tells Okada not to be sorry, and he's sick of guys cutting the line. Naito is unhappy. Takahashi said he lost twice, but he didn't get pinned, so there is that, I suppose. The Bucks are happy after 6 years. They say they do have certain dates on AEW contract. And it's like, but your contract to AEW. Like, I don't, what's the secret here? Like, you know. Monty as well. Why does Suji keep calling out Okada when it's just not going to happen? Is it just so, like, it gets people, oh, fucking hell, you know?
It's either that, or I think they are just as confused on why these AEW guys keep coming around and leaving. So they're like, because even Naito hinted at it. Naito said, "Yeah, if we maybe if we take out the Young Bucks," because I heard he whenever he says him, he's talking about Okada because he doesn't like saying Okada's name. His little frenemy Okada is who Naito is talking about. So Naito even hinted that maybe if we beat the Young Bucks, you know, he would show up again. So the only interest New Japan guys even have in enough Young Bucks at this point is, will you bring our friend Okada back?
It's Okada there.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm right now it's just wishful thinking because Okada don't even seem like he even thinking about New Japan anymore. So yeah, man, I don't know. Maybe he thinks if he says enough, AEW will let Okada come back to fight him. But I don't. Yeah, other than that, that's pretty much the only angle I got for you.
Someone needs to talk to Okada because he's got no fucking interest. Anyway, Kenny Omega, he hates backstage comments. He says he hasn't got the energy. I know the feeling, mate. He said he feels betrayed by the boos. The one person who didn't turn his back on him wasn't allowed in. To be fair, Ibushi does have a bit of history with New Japan. So again, if everybody's thinking, oh, that's unfair, he didn't let your best friend in. If you look into the story, you'd be like, yes. That's not a fucking surprise. Like,
right.
Yes.
No company was going to let a guy that did that in. And we could just leave it at
Yeah.
No matter what side you're on it, that's pretty much how I did not understand that comment at all. I thought he had to be fair,
if I got accused of that, and and then someone wanted to come around, I'd be like, look, mate, maybe you're not the best person to be here. Do you know what I mean? Because
exactly.
Anyway, and weirdly enough, Kenny Omega and Drew McIntyre said the same thing about Contact, about being away and only one person reaching out. So it made me think, did Kota Ibushi reach out to Drew McIntyre? Like, Ibushi just goes around contacting wrestlers. He's around Mavens at the moment.
He was hurt too. He got time. He had time.
Yeah. Gabe said he lost, but he's the man. Ricochet was struggling, and Zack Sabre Jr. was very happy. He said they haven't scratched the surface with Wrestle Dynasty. And that is basically it. There's New Year Dash, and there's New Beginning, where Goto's going to fuck it up yet again. Unless, Monty, you think differently. Because there's a lot of rumours that Goto, obviously number contender, is going to get the job done.
I've heard that rumor too. I don't buy it because every time I bought it in the past, he lost in great. Like, he always give you a great fight, but he don't win. So it'd be nice. It'll be a nice surprise. But I really and then, to be honest, this is what it'll tell me. If that does happen, then I hate to break it to you, James, because I love Zach and I think a lot of people should. Then the ticket sales have gotten completely horrible right now, and they're just trying to shock everybody into buying into Goto, and I love Goto too, but you see what I'm trying to say? Like, they're trying to shake it up because that's the only explanation you can have for why Zach would fall to Goto there, even though, again, it'll be a nice story.
Yeah, but again, the card is stacked, and Jackson, I don't know if you've seen the card for New Beginning, which is on, I think, in a couple of weeks' time. Not only are we going to have Zach and Goto, but we're going to have the Bucks versus it is Naito and Takahashi, isn't it? Or is it?
Yeah, Naito
I think that's
Roman, I believe.
Yeah, Roman, that's going to be the matchup. We're going to get Gabe versus Suji as well. So big things coming up, Jax.
That would definitely be a good match. Again, I haven't really been catching up with any of this, so this is all new news to me. But I'm definitely intrigued to see, like, sort of what decisions are going to be made during this event. So who knows? Maybe things.
Yeah, it will be interesting. And Gina, any final words before I do the outro?
No, I mean, maybe some final words for Tony. Please make the next crossover event relevant. And as Monty said earlier, Don't just do video packages. Actually let your talent fly over and introduce themselves and let people get hyped to see them for this crossover. That would be the closing words of wisdom here.
Perfect. Well, that's it then. Don't forget, across all social media, X at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Pod James. Find the entire WNR team on the banner. Also now on Blue Sky, WNR Podcast, and Reddit. Jaxie, where can people find and follow you?
I'm across X, Instagram, and
Perfect. Monty?
At my Monty Pod on Twitter.
Yeah, that's best stuff. And Gina?
You can find me at Purple Pain.
And also on Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email at WNRpodcast@gmail.com. And YouTube, the podcast got same time on YouTube as they do on SoundCloud. And also YouTube. I'm having a look at YouTube at the moment, putting up new clips, putting up new shorts, doing different things as well. So see if you like that and subscribe to us there. Also podcast, which is the most important thing, which is on SoundCloud, on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate and review there. So our next episode will be the Rumble review. And I don't know if you could tell, but Jaxie might have a few comments about Charlotte, but who knows? Anyway, until then, I've been James Rodens, and I was joined by the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. I mentioned Charlotte, but I think I got away with it, Jaxie.
yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Tune in to find out more on my thoughts there.
Of course, the mind of Monty. Monty, I'm sorry for breaking you today. I didn't know this would be your breaking point with New Japan. I apologize.
I'm really trying, James. That's all I'll say. I'm really trying.
And, of course, the genius of Gina. Gina, the G-site, man. You got to sort it out at some point. You were close today. You were close.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the G-site keeps flickering in and out. You know, it helps me out in some matches, but in others, I'm just screwed still. So I need to just, meditate again and bring it back.
Maybe the Rumble can change it. We'll find out next week. But until then, thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.